We've reached the halfway point of the MTEC Sprint Series season, and after the foray into European countries for the first 2 rounds, drivers and teams head all the way to Winton, Australia, and Winton Motor Raceway. The points battle is still underway with 3 rounds remaining. This is MTEC Sprint Series round number 3 from Winton. Hi everybody, Kyle Heyer joined by Finney and DeCuna for the 3rd round of the 2022 season. 2-car teams, GT4 cars, and a brand new chassis for this race as well. The Mercedes-AMG GT4. Finney, and welcome aboard. Another car added to the group. 12 drivers, and I should say 24 drivers and 12 teams competing for today's 3rd round.
Yeah, absolutely. Can't wait for these guys to get underway. A very tight and narrow circuit. This is going to be one of the trickiest tracks we go to. I think, Hungaroring and Imola, very technical tracks. I think you could almost throw Winton into that category as well, but this tie is so tight and narrow in some places. It's very much a club racing track. So these guys, and I've been seeing it a lot in practice while I've just been hanging out, kind of looking at these guys go around here. Track limits are trying to stay within the black stuff is going to be very hard for these drivers. I've seen a lot of drivers jip tires off the track and guys getting a little bit too wide, so I think that's going to be the biggest issue a lot of these drivers are going to face.
So drivers and teams fighting for the championship coming into the round. The point standings as it is, it's drivesvr.com leading the way in the AM division as well as overall. The unexpectedly large NRG build team, the Pro-Am team car, running in 2nd overall right behind. But 100 points for Drive SVR back at Hungary last time out. Penguin RC Simulations LLM Lone Star was the round winner back at Imola in round number 1. So we got our teams and drivers to keep an eye on throughout the race today. A little bit smaller field than we had in the first 2 rounds. 12 teams. One of those teams, Finian, only has 1 driver as it stands heading into qualifying, and that's a big problem.
Yeah, and that one team is drivesvr.com. Those are the guys that only have 1 driver. Pinto currently out on the track putting a qualifying time. Not sure if he doesn't have his teammate that has joined the server, because it doesn't really, the driver doesn't have to be present for the start of the event. They just have to be present by the time they get into the car, which I hope is not an issue, because they did come in leading the points, and that would be very unfortunate, the fact that they would basically have to be disqualified from this race from not having that second driver. So hopefully the second driver does show up, but everyone else does have a second driver present and is ready to go. Looking at Riley Thompson in the 71, one of the 3 Mercedes AMG GT4s that are out there, all of the BRT entries, Odin, Loki, and Thor, have all elected to go to the Mercedes chassis with this race.
Big bounce over the curbs for Riley Thompson there, heading back across and jumps right to the top of the board, a 124.429. Left-hand side of the screen, your drivers competing. Daner goes quicker that time through, another Bombshell Racing team car, another one of those Mercedes-AMG GT4s. And wow, big impact in the tire bundles at the end of the corner, and gets right back on the horse and continues. But these Mercedes, they really don't mind jumping curbs and getting airborne. You just have to make sure that when you land, you're not going to land horizontally into a wall.
Yeah, I think that's actually going to help them out quite a bit, because some of the curbs, there's some curbs where they're ramped up very high and then they duck down, like that curve right there, and you can see in that part as well. The curbs go up and then they dip down sharply on the other side of them. So some cars, as you said, some cars are just very violent when you get over the curbs. It upsets the balance, but the Mercedes can just kind of eat those. So I think that's going to be definitely helpful for the Mercedes drivers.
Colin Daner, quickest right now. Sustin Martin goes 2nd quick. Matsborg Anderson will be the 2nd man on the timing and scoring screen. Riley Thompson down to 3rd. Gary Thomas in the 003. This is one of the McLaren 570S GT4 cars, looking very sporty and very green. And Thompson again to the top of the board in the number 71 Mercedes-AMG.
Yeah, we're going to see if we're going to see all the Mercedes guys up on the top 3 spots. That's what it's looking like at the moment. Still waiting on 4 more cars to put down a qualifying time. The 86 BRT Mercedes, that looks like, I think they're done. I don't see Andrew Mickey out on the track, so they might be done back in 8th. But the other 2 Mercedes, 1 and 2 at the moment.
Yeah, I really do think this Mercedes-AMG is a really good car, and I'm got my my SRO training in me. Because they were very specific at SRO to instruct me to always say Mercedes-AMG as one collective word instead of Mercedes and AMG as the model. Don't know why, but that's just how they are. So you're going to hear me say that 100 times so I don't get myself into a bad habit and get fired when I go to Sebring in October. So you'll hear that quite a bit. But again, I think the Mercedes-AMG is a really solid GT4 car. It's got really good grunt on the straightaways, but it just dynamically changes direction really, really well. It's got that classic front engine rear drive platform, but that front engine is actually mostly behind the rear axle, so it's really more of a front mid-engine design. Really good balance in these cars, and I think we're going to see them be very, very successful here in this series.
Yeah, we'll definitely see when it comes down to race time and qualifying, looking pretty strong. Also, the Aston Martin's also looking pretty strong and fairly numerous, as that was pretty much the preferred car going in for the last few rounds. A few McLarens and a few Porsches here and there. We do only have one Porsche, no BMWs at all, which is not too surprising. No one seems to like the BMW at all. In most of the GT4, everyone picks pretty much the other 4 cars. You look at Ray Kingsbury in the 02 going flying around the track, entering the final corner.
That's the Shift Esports car that Kingsbury is piloting. And Shift Esports, again, is also got Nathaniel Cherry and Seth Rawls. That will be behind the wheel at some point. Both bronze-rated drivers.
Actually, the guy with him today is neither. It's Ty... I'm trying to figure out how to pronounce his name. It's missing a vowel. Hang on.
Oh, is this the driver?
McIntosh,
yes.
I think. Ty McIntosh. I'm going to go with that.
Yeah, we'll roll with that. So Kingsbury right now has not yet set a time. We'll see what he can do this time through another Aston Martin Vantage AMR GT4. Another really solid front-engine rear drive car. Really good balance. A little bit of understeer there for Kingsbury as Blake Reynolds in the 01, who is the winner of the first round back at Imola. They jumped up to P5 in qualifying as Kingsbury works his way through the switchback section here. Really slow corners around a lot of this racetrack. You have to be very patient getting back on throttle.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, you can see, and this is what I was talking about, there's next to no runoff room. It's all just straight up gravel and dirt. So when you dip a wheel, especially because we've seen in a lot of cases when you just going in that braking zone hard, you dip your wheel off just a little bit to the left or the right, and you go into the grass and you go spinning out. And even on the exit too, when you're coming off, we got a whole lot of load on one side of the car. It's very easy to spin out, but for Kingsbury, he keeps it on the black stuff. He comes flying across the line. We'll see if this lap is going to count. It seemed like it should have been a clean lap.
26.2. It is a clean lap, but it's not a fast one. He'll stay 11th for the time being. That just goes to show you how competitive this field is. Kingsbury we've seen in a variety of leagues here on the iRacing service and is typically right up at the front. At the tail of the field right now, the only car behind them is the Bombshell Racing Team Loki car, the 86, with Andrew Mickey behind the wheel. But Kingsbury going to go for another one here and has plenty of time left to do it. Over 7 minutes remaining in the session, so you might as well use all of it. Meanwhile, Blake Reynolds across the line again and goes a little quicker, a 1:20, well, that time even quicker still, 1:23.977, jumps up to second place on the timing and scoring.
We're going to interrupt the Mercedes pair at the top with Riley Thompson and Colin Daner putting in the qualifying laps for those 2 cars. So Blake Reynolds is going to break up starting the 01. Also of note, Rui Pinto had put in a lap time, was waiting on his lap in 25. He's currently sitting in 7th at the moment. Again, he's only by himself so far. So that's going to be, you have to keep an eye on the 25 as they are also the points leader coming in. But that car's still looking pretty quick, and he's comes to complete another lap. Expect to see him go up the order.
DriveSVR.com LLM is the team name for this car, and hoping for his sake that he's got a teammate standing by. We've seen that happen a couple of times so far this season where a teammate has either had technical problems or couldn't make it and ended up stranding their co-driver into a penalty situation. As Kingsbury goes to third quick on the board, the 02 jumps up to a 1:24.226 and improves up onto the front of that second row.
Yeah, significantly better lap. So 88 Mercedes being dropped back to 4th, and Kingsbury is starting to flex some muscle.
Chris Sherburne for Sector 5 Blackball Racing. There they are. The yellow and blue Aston Martin, again, a really swoopy looking car. And makes some great noises as well riding on board.
Yeah, this particular part of the track, very hard to get right, left and right into a heavy braking zone. In this corner, it's so hard because you think, okay, it's not that sharp a turn, then it gets significantly sharper right be the exit.
And then you crank down on the wheel to try to get the car to rotate, and then you get that, oversteer on exit. So you're kind of understeer into snap oversteer because you put that extra wheel in, and then you're throttling down. It's a pretty tricky complex.
It's very hard to get right, and that's where you're going to be making or losing a lot of the time, I feel, on this particular track, because you overshoot that corner. It's so hard to get back onto the racing line and get a decent run off the corner, especially on that second straightaway there, leading up to the final complex of corners.
Tucking it in tight. One of the things about this racetrack is the curbing can be pretty rude to you mid-apex there, as looks like Chris is going to head for pit lane. The curbing around here can bite you, especially at the exit of turn 2. Right beyond this, and actually right at the top of this, as you exit the turn 2 complex, right here, there's a nasty exit curb that can really bite you. It's really just beyond our view to the bottom right or bottom left of that. So there's a lot of challenges there when you bounce off this curb center screen. You kind of come out wide, and then just beyond this, there's some big nasty sausage curbs. You do not want to run over those too much because they can send you airborne. Some of the cars can take him, no big deal. Some of them really, really struggle with it. Here's a look at Rui Pinto as he works his way around the course.
He's been slowly working his way up the order every single lap. His last lap put him in, the second to last lap put him up to 6th. This last lap put him up to 5th. And coming by to finish his final attempt, I guess the order continues, he'll be up into 4th. He's only going to make up 23 thousandths of a second to take 4th away from the 88 of Colin Danner, so not too out of the realm of possibility.
And remember the colorations. The orange signifies that they are an AM-class competitor, or AM-class team, I should say. The white number background implies that they are a Pro-Am team. Pinto again in the 25, an AM-class car. Couple bronze drivers, and jumps up to 4th, a 124.144, so up onto row 2 for Pinto.
Yeah, very solid qualifying effort in that 25. Very solid driver in general. We haven't really seen Pinto really making any mistakes on the track. Has been fairly consistent. Hopefully for him, that streak will continue for today.
Interesting to note, the gap from first down to last is 2.5 seconds. But from first down to 6th is only 0.6 of a second. So some really tight running up at the front of the field. And this track is, while it's a club racing circuit in sort of the vibes around the racetrack, it's not particularly short. So the lap times being this close is actually really impressive. And I think we'll see some very competitive racing tonight, some switchbacks to kind of give that crossover opportunity a couple of times. I think the challenge, though, is a lot of like point and shoot as you get up off the corner and you throttle down. That can kind of tend to separate cars out, and not a lot of fast flowing sections that kind of lead into braking zones. So I think that'll be a challenge in terms of making passes happen. But if you can get up on top of somebody, you can really get kind of back and forth over under, very much like you would at the stadium section of COTA. I think we'll see that kind of situation happen. But you're going to have a fairly significant difference in lap time to facilitate that kind of battle.
Yeah, I think what we're going to see is probably a lot of elbows out racing. I mean, we saw it at the Hungaroring. A lot of these guys were fairly aggressive at the Hungaroring, a lot of beating and banging. I feel like we're going to see a lot of it at a track like this because the track is so narrow in some parts, and there's a lot of switching corners. They go left, right, and left again. So if they're going to get alongside, they're probably going to be fighting tooth and nail for it, especially on these opening laps. Very easy to make up positions in a 2-hour race. So it's very easy to lose a lot of positions or even wreck yourself out of a 2-hour race early on. So just see how these guys are going to tackle it. They're going to want to be a little bit more aggressive, so you can see the sausage curbs there in the B-roll, those nasty ones off of turn 2. See if anyone runs wide and ends the race early. They're going to want to watch out for those.
Certainly, and I think the race being 2 hours long, again, there's a lot of incentive to kind of get as much as you can at the start, but then kind of fall into a rhythm. And we've seen the tail ends of these races get really spicy. Think back to the first couple laps of the Hungaroring a few weeks ago, how aggressive that got, and then how the middle of the race kind of calmed down, and then it got very, very racy, very hip and shoulder towards the end. So there's kind of an inverse bell curve of action that I'm really expecting to see again for this race.
Yeah, and everyone's pretty much run out their qualifying times, so just kind of waiting for the session to go on to the actual race itself. Looking forward, I guess, to the rest of the calendar since we got time. Next tracks we got up are honestly one of the best tracks in iRacing. We got the Red Bull Ring coming up. That's one of my favorites. Road America almost never disappoints to put on a show. And then finally ending the season out with the Nürburgring. Also puts on some pretty good action, especially with GT cars in general. So looking forward to seeing how the rest of the series plays out, especially considering these guys have raced really well at very technical tracks where racing side by side especially is not a really big thing you would consider it with, to consider those tracks we're known for. But the tracks upcoming ahead, very good for racing, so I can't wait till we hit them.
Yeah, Red Bull Ring, and of course you can't ever count out the National Park of Speed Road America for being a fantastic race, especially in a GT4 platform car. I really feel like those cars race well there. I've gotten to be present for and announce a little bit of GT4 racing there in real life, and boy, there is no racetrack other than Watkins Glen, because it holds a special place in my heart. There's no place better than Road America for spectating a race. That Turn 5 area where all the fans hang out, you can see 5 and 6 and 12 and 13 and 14 all from one spot in the shade with jumbotrons. It's just a great experience. Now, we'll be in the virtual booth for that one, so I don't get to experience it quite the same, but it really is one of my favorites on the schedule. And, of course, Nürburgring to finish things out. What a classic racetrack that is, of course. But time to go racing. 2 hours going to go up on the board here. In just a moment, we'll bring you your starting lineup and head down to the racetrack to show you more. But behind the safety car and getting prepped for our what will be approximately an 86-lap event. So lots of laps around here because of the short lap time. And this is probably, I think this is the shortest track that's been on our schedule so far by a fairly significant margin. So we should see lots of really fun, opportunities to make mistakes. If you're bad at a spot, you're going to see it 86 times tonight. So you better hope that you get better at it.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah, especially because there are very, very tricky corners. You mentioned pretty much all of Sector 2 is a nightmare for some drivers, including myself. So you're definitely going to want to be careful and make sure you get that section right, because they said you're going to see 86 times, whether you like it or not.
Let's run through our starting lineup for today's MTEC Sprint Series round number 3. Kick things off with our starting lineup. Here we go. Kicking things off, row number 1, Riley Thompson, the number 71, and the 01, Blake Reynolds, will be kicking things off for Penguin RC. He'll line up alongside Riley Thompson. Finny, who's got row number 2?
Yeah, we got Ray Kingsbury starting the 02 for Shift Esports. Next to him, Rui Pinto in the Drive SVR 25, our points leader coming into tonight.
In row number 3, Colin Daner in the number 88. You're looking at him there. That's that Mercedes AMG. Alongside them, Mats Borg Anderson in the 888 rolls off in 6th for Sustin Martin.
And Big D NRG is going to be rolling off in the 003 with Gary Thomas at the helm. The 007 next to him, Sector 5 Black Ball with Chris Sherburn lining off in 8th.
Row 5 will be David Michael Nichols in the 164, and then Jake Fox will line up alongside him in the number 60 for Kinetic Racing.
And rounding out row number 6, and your final 2 cars will be Penguin RC, the 2 car with Christian Ost in 11th, with BRT Loki with Andrew Mickey in the 86 in 12th.
Headlights flashing, drivers getting prepped to go racing for the 3rd time this season. And 6 rows of GT4 cars of make and model from Porsche, McLaren, Aston Martin, and Mercedes AMG. No BMWs in this mix, unfortunately, but one of each of the other brands at least represented once here at Winton Motor Raceway. Round number 3 of the season is about to get underway as the field rolls through the final turn and gets set for the start. MTEC Sprint Series round number 3 from Winton Motor Raceway is green. 2 hours on the board. We're racing in Australia. Down on the brakes into turn 1, hip and shoulder here. Look out, jumping curbs. The DriveSVR.com car jumping up over them. Colin Daner on the outside will tuck in line behind him. First time through the chicane, though. Everybody makes it out the other side, Finian.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was very concerned because, as you can see with these cars when they go there side by side, very tight piece of track. And here you got some side-by-side action in the back of the field, and also in the middle of the field, Aston Martin just working his way on through up into 9th. That is the 007 making his way past the 2 car.
Yeah, Chris Sherburn in that car right now. Kinetic Racing in the number 60 Porsche. They've fallen back to the tail of the field here. Move back up towards the front. Riley Thompson leads the way. Blake Reynolds tucks in behind, and Ray Kingsbury in 3rd. Then it's Rui Pinto, Colin Daner, and Sustin Martin's Borg Anderson in the 888. Will ride on board. Big slide there from Daner.
Yeah, Daner's struggling to get all the power out of that corner. It's so easy to just smash the gas. So you want to kind of ease into it because you're coming off from such a low speed. Oh, and the Aston Martin also sideways to the left-hander.
Yeah, we're going to see a lot of that, I think, in the early moments. One car off of the 007. Sherburn drives through the dirt. And Andrew Mickey in the 86 Mercedes AMG smells blood in the water. So does the 60 of Jake Fox.
Yeah, again, like you said, you want to take advantage of everyone making mistakes, especially early on, trying to get used to driving in a field like this, dealing with all the traffic. But for the most part, make it through lap 1, no casualties.
And I don't think we saw any contact either, which is great to see. Thompson getting after it up front of the Bombshell Racing Team Thor car. Blake Reynolds in second place in that 0-1. Then Shift Esports Ray Kingsbury. That first qualifying lap wasn't very indicative of their pace. He has gotten right up on the horse and is riding it straight to the front right now in the 0-2 Shift Esports car.
Yeah, doing a solid job. Just has to get through Blake Reynolds, and Reynolds himself looks to be fairly quick. I saw the way he's been taking some of these corners, basically making it straight, and almost using those curbs that I was talking about where they're very aggressive in the way they kind of ramp up, ramp down. He's been kind of climbing over them, using the insiding of the curb to kind of hook the car around. He's been working through really quick. That Aston Martin looks particularly fast. Aston
Martin trying to command the 888 up to the group of 5 in front. Colin Daner is closing in on Rui Pinto in that 25 car. We'll have to keep you updated on the team player scenario to see if Pinto is all by himself, because he will get disqualified if he can't get his teammate here to run out the rest of the race with him, which would be a real shame because he's got pace and they're leading the standings. The 007 is off again. Sherburne dropping tires, and at least this time he'll carry the momentum away from the 86.
Yeah, we're talking about corners you don't like. Particularly doesn't seem to like that corner. I'm not sure what corner that is off the top of my head. I think turn 10 is what that is. So he's not already not a fan of that. Well, fortunate for him, 84 more times is what he'll have to do to finish out this race.
Yeah, dropped 2 spots already for a Sector 5 black ball. Definitely has some work to do, as you mentioned. Love this first chicane complex. Get really aggressive over it. But up front, it's all Riley Thompson so far, but let me tell you something, Blake Reynolds and Kingsbury and Pinto and Daner are not too far behind.
Yeah, everyone's very close together. The entire top 5 all just within 2.5 seconds of each other. So effectively nose to tail. Not sure what any of these guys have got up their sleeves to try to work their way on past. Ooh, the Mercedes runs a little bit wide through that complex. Here comes Reynolds back with the Aston Martin.
I think the Mercedes AMG in this series is carrying another 15 kilograms of ballast other than what iRacing has already determined a balance for. And I've seen, at least in the public servers, the Mercedes has been the choice. So we'll see if that 15 kilograms does a lot. They're kind of spread evenly throughout the field right now, kind of one in the front, one in the middle, and one in the back. But Blake Reynolds is closing in that second place Penguin RC Simulation Aston Martin.
Yeah, I'd say that did the BOP pretty well so far, at least on the initial counting here with the first few laps underway.
Yeah, we'll have to see how they wear the tires out, though. That extra 15 kilograms might not show face here in the short run, but after 25, 30, 45 minutes, you're going to start to feel that in the tire.
And he might already start to be feeling that because Blake Reynolds is all over the back of him. He's slowly breaking away. And you can see even, riding on board Thompson, that back end starting to swing out a little bit more. And we saw this with Colin Daner too. The back end is just a little bit too free.
And with such slow corners that you kind of have to dig out of, you got to lean on the traction control a little bit, but sometimes that feels slow. So you'll turn that traction control down and try to naturally coax the car up to speed. But you have to kind of trust the electronics in these cars. The traction control is better than you are. And that wasn't always the case here in iRacing. I do believe that it's gotten better, and I think that you want to lean on it a little bit more than you have in the past. Thompson now being pressured significantly by Blake Reynolds, and he's definitely under fire from that second place Aston Martin.
Yeah, Thompson's been, I think, his worst corner is that first hairpin of Sector 2. He's been particularly slow out of that, missing that corner. We saw him go wide for a second time, and that's allowed Reynolds to really catch up to the back. And the problem for Reynolds is, where do you exactly make the pass?
Ooh.
Oh, he might be able to do it here. Thompson off in the gravel. Here comes Reynolds.
It's a popular place to go off today, and here comes Reynolds around the outside of the Penguin RC LLM Lone Star team car. Door to door, but it's 2 right-handers here, so Thompson's going to have the preferred line. Nice racing, very, very clean. To Kingsbury, sees opportunity. They're double wide in front of him. The smart move here would be to lay back and let these 2 tangle in turn 1 by themselves.
It's very tight, very hard to go side by side. Mercedes going to hop over the curb, almost went straight line through there, and Reynolds not able to get quite a line. Here comes Kingsbury, 3 wide.
3 abreast for the top spot. Here comes Kingsbury. He's going to grab the lead away momentarily. And Blake Reynolds goes around the outside now. Can he hold spot? He will. So Reynolds takes the top spot. Thompson goes from first to third, and Kingsbury slots the difference and drives into second. And Rui Pinto and Anderson have joined the party now. Big slide for Thompson.
Oh.
Look out, right across the road, and Pinto dives out of the way.
Yeah, that Mercedes seems to be really struggling when it comes to changes in directions between the hairpins and the switchback. It just seems like it's been a struggle to get that car to rotate, and we saw it right there with almost a big wipeout.
Yeah, right here. He's just going to run off the track just a little bit wide there, and back across the racetrack, and just a slight contact to the rear quarter of the 25. That shouldn't really be any cause of issue. These GT4s are pretty stout. They take a big beating before it's going to affect their performance, but let that be known, there was some contact there.
Yeah, I'm generally surprised that wasn't worse. That looked like it was going to be significantly worse contact, but it was only just a slight brush with the 25. Also, an update with the 88 BRT Odin Kirk Crum. You see the cars in the pits. That's because Colin Daner, the driver who initially started the race, he's lost connection to the server. So Kirk Crum getting in the car to get it back out on the track, but already troubles for their day.
Yeah, I saw them kind of dropping out, but I wasn't sure if it was going to stick. It sounds like it didn't. So Kirk Crum will jump in. They're 2 laps down early, not the way that they wanted this race to go for them, but if you're going to have a problem, better to have it in the first couple of minutes. The bigger concern for me would be, can Daner kind of stabilize that connection enough to get the minimum drive time in? That would be my concern now, is focus on whatever issue is going on. If you're on Wi-Fi, plug that cable in. You need to have as much trustworthiness as you can in that connection. So Blake Reynolds, Kingsbury, Thompson still 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, and I mean, it's unfortunate because for Dana, this is the second time he's had an internet issue, because I remember that's the exact issue that he had the first round at Imola. He wasn't able to connect to the server at all, so for this third round, it's still issues plaguing him. So hopefully he's got maybe about an hour before he has to get back in the car. Hopefully he can find some sort of way to fix it. Not really much he can do, but I don't know, maybe he'll find something to help fix him out. Maybe he needs to change from Xfinity, right Kyle?
Oh boy. The whole thing.
If he has Xfinity.
Yeah, well, he probably does, because it's the only service you can get across most of the country, for better or for worse. 2 of the McLarens, the only 2 McLarens are battling for position. That's the Big D NRG car, Gary Thomas, and the green 570S. And then David Michael Nichols right behind him in the very attractive-looking blue, white, and red car. 6th and 7th place fight, but don't want to stray too far from that lead battle, because it is heating up once again. I think Ray Kingsbury is just eating into Blake Reynolds' lead a little bit last time by.
Yeah, he actually ended up losing a little bit of time. Last time through, Reynolds was just about a 10th and some change faster than Ray Kingsbury. So Reynolds a little bit further, but although it looks through the first sector, he's made that all back up and then some.
Kingsbury. A lot of flow required for this particular sector, and a little bit late turn in there for Reynolds. Maybe a little early dive for Kingsbury, though it kind of equalized in the end. I just love watching the GT4 cars move around the racetrack. They just drive and flow so nicely. And it's just a great speed of car to play with. That's why for the longest time when we were hoping to get GT4s, I was most excited for this class over anything, because the speed of the car is just perfect. I think GT3s are a little too fast for me. The Mustang FR500, which I drove for a long time in the sim, a little bit too slow. The GT4 is a perfect in-between of power, speed, downforce, and braking.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's also nice, too, that we finally got some more cars to flesh out the class. Especially, it's definitely increased the participation in the class, too. It was a little bit boring with just the Porsche and then also the BMW. With now the McLaren, Aston Martin, Mercedes, you got a wide choice to choose from for which car you want to take onto the track. And already seeing a bunch of different cars mixing it up.
So the front 5 are still all in a group together, trailed by the Aston Martin team car. In the light blue, then it's Gary Thomas in that 003. And it looks like David Michael Nichols has started to drop off of that battle with Thomas and is now falling into the clutches of Christian Ost in the Pegan RC Complex Simworks car. That's 8th right now, that 8th place Aston Martin, which started the event in 11th, so +3 for the number 2 so far.
Yeah, I'm sure they're really happy with their progress forward. Probably could be hoping for more, but still working really good, especially considering they're catching the 7th place driver just ahead of them.
Big jump there for David Michael Nichols over the curb. It's again, when I talk about watching the cars in there because they're fun to watch. The jumping curbs is one of my favorite things to watch. Everyone that knows me knows that. I like that, and pictures and video of all that. So yeah, get the cars airborne. It looks cool. Kingsbury now under fire from Thompson, who might be getting a second wind here.
Yeah, it seems like he's adjusted his driving style, brought it back in a little bit, and it seems like he's definitely making up some solid time, at least on Kingsbury.
Whoa.
Kingsbury going to overshoot hard in the penultimate corner, going to try to come back on the track, but Thompson snakes his way on through to second.
And will Rui Pinto take advantage of that as well? I don't think he'll have enough of a
Not
run,
done
but
yet.
here comes Kingsbury back to the outside of Thompson.
He's going to try again. We saw these guys go side by side a couple laps ago. Here they go again into turn number 1. Big dive from Kingsbury. Tries to work on the outside. Now back on the inside. Fantastic move in the Aston Martin.
Power move there to have that mistake and then immediately come back. Thompson's not giving up. Maybe he should. It's going to open the door for Pinto. And here he comes at the 25.
I think he's thinking better of it. I think he feels maybe too much to lose if he pokes his nose in the battle. So let them two fight it out.
Yeah, this is really good stuff up in the front 5 here. Look at this, the 33 right, or excuse me, the 71 right behind Kingsbury. He takes a big chunk of curb. And Sustin Martin in the background. Anderson just waiting for these three to tangle.
And meanwhile, Kingsbury, Blake Reynolds is checking out in front. 2.5 seconds the gap between first and second.
Yeah, he's out of the
just from that battling.
Yeah, and especially at a track that's this tight and twisty, there's so many opportunities to slow each other down. It's not fast and flowing where you kind of tuck in line. If you're going to fight, you're going to fight anywhere around here. And that will let Blake Reynolds pretty much clear the area, and he's gone. How tidy this looks until it's not. Up onto the front straightaway again. Kingsbury, Thompson, Pinto, Anderson, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then again, that battle for 6th place, Thomas and David Michael Nichols not too far away from spicing that one up again as well.
I'm curious how much can Blake Reynolds take this lead out to, now that he's kind of broken away from any potential slipstream on the short straightaways.
Yeah, last time by, his best lap was it was only about 0.6 off of his best at 1:24.881. For Kingsbury, in the heat of that battle, it was a 1:25.596, so almost a full second slower while dealing with Riley Thompson.
Thompson almost dipped a wheel out onto the gravel and went flying off the track. Just had it enough to avoid disaster, but was flirting with death.
I think we're going to see more tire fall off in this round than we have at previous rounds as well. There's just so much slow speed tire scrubbing where you're leaning almost entirely on mechanical grip instead of aero. Again, another mistake from Kingsbury. It's going to open the door for Thompson. Does he go left? Does he go right? He's going to choose the right. That'll put him on the preferred line here. Can he outbrake the 0-2? Not quite.
Yeah, I was just about to say the last Martin seems to be better on the brakes, but Kingsbury just absolutely sent it to compromise his entry, but was still able to just park the bus on the apex, and Thompson's still stuck in behind.
I think the Mercedes-AMG and the Aston Martin are pretty similar on the brakes. Kingsbury's just kind of overshooting the corner and driving in too deep every time, but he's able to compensate with getting back on throttle and the rotation the Aston has. He's not losing a lot of time by doing that. It just kind of opens the door momentarily mid-corner. Then he's able to recover and keep that distance. So it's working out for him now. I'm not convinced I want to keep that door open later and later in the race as we're working lap 11 with an hour 45 to go. Plenty of time to make your mistake. Now, car on the wall, big crash. David Michael Nichols, that's a huge impact for the 164 car.
Yeah, it's already taken a little bit longer than I thought it was going to take for someone to have an accident in that corner. And, oh yeah, that's exactly what we thought.
Oh, wow, airborne. And backs it in. Right on board. This is going to be a wild ride here. Wow. Well, didn't get quite as much damage as I thought. That right side, though, is pretty beat up. That could knock the suspension out. So they might have to address that, but looks like it could just be body work, and that'd be get away with murder there, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. I'm trying to take a look and see if the car is even driving in a straight line. That's going to be the next issue also. Seems like it is, actually. No, he's got it, I think, about 15 degrees to the left.
Yeah, it doesn't look perfectly straight,
yeah.
So might have to nurse that one back for a little while. Meanwhile, up in 5th place.
Actually, sorry to cut you off. He actually doesn't have a meatball flag, so if he wants to, he can continue.
The Sustin Martin car just lost a spot. Let's go back and see if we can find out how that happened. And this was earlier in the lap. Runs out a little wide right here, grabs the dirt.
That's what Riley Thompson almost did the last time through. Just narrowly avoided it. But unfortunately for the Aston Martin crew, just a little bit too much.
Pulled away, lost a spot, but now right back on the tailpipes to Gary Thomas. I do think they're faster. Anderson is quicker than the 003. But that one mistake will set them back about 7 seconds from that previous battle they were fighting.
Yeah, it's going to be a decent gap to make up, although with the amount of mistakes the top few guys have been making, it's not completely the end of the world. They just got to get their head down. And also let them know as you go back to this group, Kingsbury actually making some inroads. The gap was about 2.5 seconds. It's now just about at 2 seconds.
Well,
slowly ducking under as he runs off into the gravel trap, so never mind that.
That corner has been the Achilles heel of everybody inside the top 5 tonight. But again, Kingsbury and Thompson, they were not that much slower than Blake Reynolds before. The only reason they lost that time was because they were battling. So if they can clean it up and run single file for a bit, they can reel in Blake Reynolds. And again, there's still so much racing left to go. 3 seconds isn't a huge deal. As long as you're not hemorrhaging that time every single lap, you're going to be fine.
Yeah, I was going to say that's going to be the big thing, though, is they don't battle with each other. But it seems like between Thompson and Kingsbury, it seems like either one of them wants to be in second place, and neither one wants to yield at the moment. So we'll see how that works out.
Here comes Anderson back around Gary Thomas, grabs the spot in turns 1 and 2. Let's move Aston Martin back to 5th.
Okay, he's got 8 seconds just about to the back of this pack. The guys he's chasing, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. Oh, but a huge jump over the curbs for Ray Kingsbury. Taking your advice to heart.
Yeah, again, there are some tracks that taking a bunch of curb like that is advantageous. I think this is one of them. It can help the car rotate if you can kind of jump it up on the apex. Think of a track like Sonoma Raceway. Turn 7 on the NASCAR course really helps you rotate the body around if it doesn't want to make that initial rotation. So there are places that you want to get some tires up on that curbing. There's a lot of other places that you don't want to do that. One of those places is the exit at turn 2 we saw earlier. The 164, David Michael Nichols get a little bit too much of that curb and actually get airborne. But the other thing is that if you're coming up on a fast turn that requires a lot of aero grip, you don't want to kind of separate the bottom of the car from the road because you need to rely on that aero. So it's every lap, every corner is a little different. Every racetrack is extremely different. But here I'd like to take big chunks out of wherever I can. Maybe too big there for Kingsbury. That's, again, one of the places I want to avoid.
Yeah, I was going to say he's about to have what happened to David Michael Nichols happen to him. He almost went off into that second series of curves. The thing is, those are the really bad ones. Those ones you're going to catch air and go flying around. So I think Kingsbury needs to dial it in just a little bit. It seems to be being a bit too aggressive over some of these curbs.
He's just been a little wild today in general, and it hasn't totally paid off. He's running inside the top 5, but he might have been leading this race had he had just a little bit more patience in the early part. But Shift Esports still making it work. Lost a little bit more ground to Blake Reynolds. 3 seconds is the gap now. I think they were actually faster with Kingsbury in front of Thompson, though. I'm not convinced that the 71 is the best locomotive on this train.
Yeah, I think we're seeing that with Kingsbury constantly getting to the back bumper. That Mercedes, again, the problem is that really that Kingsbury's made too many mistakes. As I say that, Thompson, a slight error, gets really poor exit out of turn 10. Here comes Kingsbury with the slipstream. Tries to look to the right-hand side, can't quite get there.
Yeah, that corner, again, we just mentioned it a lap ago. It's just been such a challenge. And with Reynolds all by himself, not having to really race anybody, I think he can slow down and prioritize that exit a little bit and not have that same mistake that we've seen these guys make. But these guys can't afford to break any earlier. They're going to lose the spot on corner entry. So it's definitely a game of win and loss in particular areas. And which areas do you prioritize comes down to where you are on the racetrack. Great battle here for second, though. These guys have been on top of each other since the drop of the green flag. 20 minutes. That's a full sprint race that they've been nipping and tucking at each other.
Yeah, they show us no signs of slowing down with that action. Both of them want to get to the front. David Michael Nichols coming into the pits, I imagine, for repairs. Is an unscheduled stop.
Yeah, we'll see. A little bit early to be a pit stop for a full tank of fuel at this point. I don't think there's much worth doing at this point there. Kingsbury really chasing the car through the S's that time. A little bit behind in the steering, and it cost him. Meanwhile, it was not a great lap for them last time through, but Aston Martin and Anderson They are kind of in no man's land at the moment. 9 seconds back from their next competitor, which would be Rui Pinto. 2.6 back to the closest trailing competitor. That's Gary Thomas in the Big D Energy car. So they're kind of just riding by themselves for a little while and maybe getting some clear road to plan out their attack for the rest of the day.
Yeah, really the goal for that team is just basically going to have to get their head down and just get some hot laps in, right? Because they need to make up quite a bit of time to catch their next competitors. The 007 seems to have lost position.
Yeah, Chris Sherburne losing a spot to Christian Ost. Let's go back and see how that happened. Same spot again, turn 10.
Yeah, it wasn't even too much. It seemed like Sherburne was checking out for Kirk Crum, and Ost said, "Don't mind if I do," and just kind of dove it in there and managed to get the spot.
Whoa, big understeer for Ost. Keeps it off the fence, but that was one of those moments that you kind of grit your teeth and just hope the car sticks. Watch the car through the second part of turn 2 here. Watch.
Yeah,
right
you already see he started turning in late.
Yep.
And managed to reel it in pretty well, though that is definitely a Code Brown moment. When you realize you turn in that millisecond too late, and you start veering towards the curbs of death.
Yeah, and you can feel the car sliding, you hear it sliding, and sometimes you're along for the ride. And there's, in stock cars especially, on some of the ovals, you'll turn into the corner and you kind of go up the racetrack, and you're going to hit the wall, and you're 2 seconds away from actually hitting it. But that just feels like an eternity. There's nothing you can do. And that was almost one of those moments there. Thompson again fielding pressure from Kingsbury. But these two have not really sorted out which of them should be the man to go run down Blake Reynolds.
Yeah, because it's weird because Thompson, I would say, arguably the more consistent between the two. Kingsbury the faster of the two. But, either one's not really going to get them near the front.
25 minutes into the third round of the MTEC Sprint Series here from Winton Motor Raceway. Next stop on the schedule will be the Red Bull Ring, followed by Road America, the National Park of Speed, and then the Nürburgring to wrap up the 6-round season. It's all been essentially Blake Reynolds for the last 20 minutes or so. Led early by Riley Thompson, and then Kingsbury threaded the needle, went 3 wide for the lead. And they all basically shook it up at the front. Now it's Reynolds, Thompson, Kingsbury in that order.
And Kingsbury looks like he's ready to punt Thompson off the track if he needs to.
Well, Rui Pinto is waiting in the wings too. He'd like those drivers to kind of lean on each other a little bit, make his job easier to get around.
Speaking of Pinto, still no update on his teammate, which is a bit concerning because he's going to have to switch off in about another half an hour. Still no sign.
The 164 car, it looks like they have retired that satellite racing car. Again, that damage, I think, probably more severe than it looked.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't enough for them that the iRacing was making them have to come in, but, that doesn't necessarily mean that the car is in a drivable state, and I guess they figured wasn't worth continuing on with. So it's unfortunately first retirement of the evening. Wow! Kingsbury!
Did he hit the wall? He might have gotten a piece of it.
He didn't hit the wall. He caught a lot of air, though.
Wow! Holy cow. That's about as much air as I'd want to get. Holy, my goodness. That's clear of the wall there, I think.
Yeah, someone might want to tell Kingsbury if he wants to catch air. Surface Paradise is about 14, 15 hours away from this track.
Where's the Sydney International Airport? I think you got more air than some of the Qantas flights leaving there this afternoon. V1 rotate. And up goes Kingsbury.
Yeah, positive rate.
Gear up. Oh, boy. Here comes Pinto.
Goes up the track.
To the inside, and looks like Kingsbury's going to give that up. I wonder if he's got some suspension damage from landing so hard.
I would be not surprised if he doesn't.
Oh, you can see the fender certainly crinkled.
Yeah, he came. The way you go off on those curbs and then come flying back down, it hurts quite a bit. I mean, we even saw last week with Zhou Guanyu's wreck at Silverstone. You saw when the car goes up, just comes down, causes a roll hoop to fail.
Yeah.
So when you put all the weight of these cars back down on Earth very quickly like that, it's going to break something.
Well, the problem is in a silo where you're just landing on a flat piece of road, that's one thing. But when you do a curb hop and then you land into pavement that's rising to meet your tire anyway, you're kind of amplifying that impact. And Kingsbury looking even more ragged now. You have to wonder if something is hurting there. So we'll see if he comes to address that or if he just tries to limp it back. A little bit of skipping and hopping across the surface as well. But down to 4th place. And Riley Thompson trying to take a chunk out of Blake Reynolds' lead. It's 3.8 seconds now, but without Kingsbury pressuring him, he might be able to get some clean laps in here. Pinto, though, not too far behind, so I think Thompson will still have to glance in the mirror now and then.
Yeah, just an occasional glance. I don't think he's quite worried about Pinto. I think he knows that the 25 is a little bit more reserved. I think
it's trouble.
Thompson knows.
Christian Ost in the 2-car. Sorry, Finian. Spin and a slide for Christian Ost in the number 2 Penguin RC Complex Simworks car. Here's a look at it.
It is a very tough section of track if you're not careful. I think he thought he could just keep in it. Just went drifting off the track. And slowly meandering, trying to take out the 007 when he rejoins.
Chris Sherburne grabs a spot, moves his way back up into 7th, but Ost down a spot to 8th.
So going back.
Go ahead.
You go. Yeah, so going back to what I was saying. is that for Thompson, I think he knows that Pinto is not going to be as aggressive with him as Kingsbury was. So I think he's probably not going to be worried as much. The big thing, though, is he's going to have to get his head down and start putting some decent laps in. This gap's been almost at about 4 seconds now. So really wants to try to minimize that loss.
Yeah, it was a 1/10 of a second loss for Thompson last time by. That is a little less of a loss than he'd seen the previous few laps, but still has a couple people in behind him. Here's a battle for 9th place. Kinetic Racing's MTEC 60 car, Jake Fox, right behind Andrew Mickey as Christian Ost hits pit lane. An early stop for them as well. Kinetic Racing the only Porsche in the field, and this was the car of choice for a long time in the GT4 category in iRacing. And it seems that it's kind of been forgotten about a little bit. I still think the Porsche is a really good handling car. The dynamics of it are spectacular, but I just don't know if it's the fast choice right now.
Yeah, I don't think it is. I think we've seen that. I think the Mercedes. I think it also has to do with the Aston Martin and the Mercedes just being solid front engine cars. I think people are more used to the way those cars handle. From just comparison to most of the other cars that iRacing has to offer, mostly front engine rear-wheel drive. So I think it's something people are more familiar with, and I think it's easier for them to just get up and go.
I think there's a couple advantages to the Porsche that I like from a driving perspective. One, dimensionally, I think it's the smallest car in the field. Maybe the McLaren might have something to say about that, but the Porsche, very light on its feet in comparison. The dynamics are really good. They're different from a front-engine car, yes, but it's just got a great balance of torque and power and cornering ability. I really like how it feels on the brakes as well, and it feels very predictable in my sense. The only thing that I don't like is that once you get it really sideways, it's kind of hard to get it back. But the other thing is this Kinetic team, they really have this thing looking very pretty. This is a livery you could totally see in SRO World Challenge or in IMSA. Very Porsche suiting in terms of the body lines and such. So looks great. And chasing Andrew Mickey in the Bombshell Racing Team Walkie car. This is one of the Mercedes that started towards the tail of the field and now has some pressure for 8th spot.
Yeah, they've just been kind of working their way up through the order, slowly but surely.
We'll take you back here if this battle gets any more intriguing. Up for 2nd place. Gap has continued to expand, and Reynolds just ran a very quick lap, a 1:24.5 the previous time, then a 1:24.7. Everyone else is in the 25s or beyond, so Blake Reynolds is ripping out some extremely quick laps right now as he's about to put the 2-car of Christian Ost a lap down.
Yeah, they're doing a really solid job just getting his head down, bringing that gap out as quickly as possible. I think also part of the hope too is just hoping that the guys in behind start getting into a fight again, which is looking more likely because Pinto's closing back in and Kingsbury's also closing back in. We thought that 0-2 may fall off after getting some damage, but it looks like he's back on it again. Oh, as I say that, just really dragged the floor over one of the curbs.
Whoa! Christian Ost a little wide, and Reynolds has to go the long way around. That was a dangerous spot to intercept.
Yeah, not the most ideal place to overtake.
Certainly not. Here's that tricky turn 10. that has been the bane of the driver's existence today. And I think Christianos is even going to get a little wide. No, he kept it nice and tight. Rui Pinto chasing Thompson. And back to 8th place, Andrew Mickey and Jake Fox. Bombshell Racing Team Loki versus Kinetic Racing. Whoop.
Whoa,
there goes Mickey,
hello.
and here comes Fox up the inside. Mickey's going to try to hang tight around the outside, but can't do it. Move Jake Fox to 8th. And Kinetic Racing up 2 spots from where they started.
Yeah, that was solid from Jake Fox, though it looked like the way he hit the curb, it looked like he was going to go spinning into the Mercedes. So that was solid for him to just keep that under control, and making that mistake going to cost him back into 9th.
Yeah, Ray Kingsbury's lap times, he just ran a 1:24.7, which was actually faster than the leader, but the consistency has not been there for really anybody. Everyone's kind of all over the place in terms of lap time. No one's really found a lot of consistency lap over lap.
And I think this has to do a lot with what you're saying with, you know, a lot of the slow speed corners forcing guys to use their mechanical grip. I think that's probably why we're seeing such a difference in the lap times, because we're seeing guys who've been taking care a little bit better of their tires and some guys who've not been taking care of their tires as well.
So with the standings, it's important to note that the Bombshell Racing Team Odin car, the 88 with Kurt Crum behind the wheel, not really been their round. They were 10th coming into the night in terms of their standings. But this is not going to help them a whole lot. Just a disastrous way to start this race with that connection drop from Daner. And Crum now a lap down. He now has a friend a lap down. That's the Penguin RC Complex Simworks car of Christianos. But this is just not fun to run for an hour and a half completely on your own with no one really to battle or fight. It just sucks all the soul out of you to run, you know, this deep in the field and not really have any chance to recover.
Yeah, it is a unfortunate feeling, and it's only made worse by the fact that, you know, I for the most part, it seems like Dana has joined the server back. He hasn't dropped yet, but the thing is, he's still got to get back in the car, and you never know what happens with the internet, especially if you do have a bit of a funky connection. It could drop at any point, so they still got to worry about that. That worry is not completely gone away.
Don't think it will go away until the race is over. Pinto and Kingsbury, 3rd and 4th, beginning to spark their battle and expecting the early takers in pit stops in the next 15 minutes or so. But again, we typically see people just try to come right down the middle.
Yeah, more or less. And again, for Pinto, getting a little bit nervous for him because still have no signs of a teammate joining. And he's going to be kicking himself, probably going to be mad at his team. Again, not sure what the circumstances are for him, but probably definitely going to be a little bit frustrated at the very least because they've had a pretty solid round up into 3rd. Still have a solid chance of even winning, but looking like they may, every single lap is looking more and more likely that they may be disqualified for lacking a second driver.
Yeah, that's not the way they wanted this to go in terms of the points picture. Battle for second has finally cooled itself down a little bit. It surely could reignite, but for now, everyone just clicking away laps. Blake Reynolds and Penguin RC LLM Lone Star out front by a significant margin. And expecting Sarah Robb to jump in this car. She's the silver driver of the group. Once we get around the halfway point, Shift Esports, again, having a different driver lineup this time around. DriveSVR.com, where we Pinto again on his own. Bombshell Racing Team Thor, though, with Riley Thompson behind the wheel. We are expecting... Well, which of the two are we expecting today? Are we expecting Ryan Carwile?
I believe it should be Carwile. Hang on one second. Double check that for you.
I think Riley must be a bronze or a silver.
Which car number again? Sorry?
71.
71. Yes, Ryan Carwile will be joining Riley Thompson.
All right, so he'll be the silver in that lineup. Christianos slowing down a little bit, letting some of the lead lap cars by. Thompson and Pinto get by. Kingsbury will have to wait a couple more corners. And I know it's still early. We still have 3/4 of this race remaining, but you'd have to look squarely at this 0-1, and it's pretty hard to imagine a scenario where they mess this up as long as they can just keep clicking laps away. They just have no pressure. There's no reason for Blake or Sarah to really push their limits here. Just continue to do what you're doing. And yeah, when the drivers swap, it might be a little bit different, but for now, they're just on cruise control out in front of the field.
Absolutely, doing a really solid job. It's pretty much their race to lose at this point. So as long as either Reynolds or Rob make any mistakes and just keep it clean and green, should be able to take this win fairly easily. That being said, never know. Once we get the different drivers in the car, we see that's kind of the beauty of endurance racing, because may look like some drivers have a one-up on each other. Then everyone switches, and you have different sets of drivers. That some better, some worse, and they kind of come back together slowly. We've seen that a lot this season so far, and I expect to see it again. So once the driver changes occur, we may see the field close back up.
It's kind of been a holding pattern for now. Rui Pinto and Ray Kingsbury still chasing each other for third. If there was any damage on that 0-2, it's not doing a ton. Again, I don't think the car has quite the pace it had in it before, but I don't know if that's because he just overheated the tires, or if it's a track position play, or if there actually is some damage to that car. But you can see the bodywork damage. I would expect that to take some kind of aero hit in terms of slowing the car down on the straightaways. The good news for him here is that there's not a ton of straight that you have to worry about. Not exactly what I would consider a high aero racetrack or a low drag racetrack. It's not a Road America or a Sebring or something like that where that would affect you that much. I think he'll be able to get away with that damage.
Yeah, it might have also been I don't want to say a wake-up call, but it might have been just him realizing maybe he should dial it back a little bit.
And he has.
So there's still a lot of time left to go, so I think he just kind of dialed it back just to make sure to get that car to the end, because they're still pretty quick at the moment. P1 a little bit out of reach, but P2 and 3 directly ahead, so just kind of get your head down. Potentially just wait until the pit stops and maybe see if they can nap a position or two on when the pit stops get underway.
Yeah, he has been a little bit less frantic looking since that incident. Definitely cooled it down a little bit. There was some very aggressive laps there by Kingsbury. Didn't touch anybody. You could just tell that Ray was after every 10th he could get there in the early 20 minutes or so. .7 seconds is the lead. You're watching the MTEC Sprint Series round number 3 from Winton Motor Raceway. And Blake Reynolds has led this for the vast majority of this race. It was Riley Thompson that led in the early moments and gave up the lead after some wild laps there, battling with Kingsbury and Reynolds. About 40 minutes into our 2-hour event, so 1 hour and 21 minutes remaining. Working lap number 28 of approximately 85 here in Winton, Australia.
And just about coming up on pit stops. Time window will open in about 5-7 minutes time. And potentially going to see some guys, maybe some early stops come in, but as you mentioned, most people pretty much going to come in right at the hour mark.
Yeah, there's no real reason not to. I think this would come down to how much you've tested, how much you've practiced. I think there is a strategy under which a two-stopper could work, and you take tires at both, but tires take so long to put on the car, I don't know if that's really a worthy trade-off. I could just see how tire wear would be a lot more than we've seen in previous rounds or will see at future rounds. There's just so much slow-speed cornering, so much tire scrubbing in those slow-speed corners that the tires on these cars will be really suffering towards the tail end of the run. Another piece of this track is how flat it is. Before the broadcast, I kind of compared it to Gingerman Raceway in South Haven, Michigan. It's got that club racing aesthetic, but it's very flat, and it has a variety of different corners in it. But it definitely feels like a small racetrack for these cars to race on, especially once you get side by side.
Yeah, I'd seen some solid side-by-side racing action. A little bit more than I was expecting, but fizzling out into this middle part of the section, I think everyone just kind of trying to tick off laps and make sure they don't accidentally wreck their stuff, especially because we got close quite a few times.
There's a Sustin Martin car of Anderson, and again, you saw him lose it and spin around at turn I think it was turn 9 earlier in the race.
Yes.
And he's since gathered it up, and again, it's kind of stuck in no man's land. 15 seconds to the car in front, 14 to the car behind. But all in all, up 1 spot, so there's a positive there and no damage on the car, so they're looking forward to the second half of this race. Who is the Anderson teammate today, Finian? I would expect it to be one of several, but tell me who it's going to be.
It's going to be Dominic Eisenberg.
All right, he'll be the silver driver in that lineup then. Again, this is a Pro-Am lineup.
And I think it's got to be a little bit frustrating for them because they saw what could have been their run. Unfortunately, it's looking less and less likely as they've been dropping back more and more time. When they got back going, it was around 7 seconds. It's now dropped to 15 seconds and counting.
Yeah, and this is like one of those slow bleed scenarios, right? Because they're not losing huge chunks of time. They're just losing a couple tenths here and a couple tenths there, but it's adding up in this long run. And without a full course yellow to kind of restack and re-rack the field, they're just kind of hoping that things will start coming back their direction. A top 5 is certainly not a bad day, but I think they'd like to battle for that podium up front.
Yeah, no debris yellows in this race.
Nope.
Or even convention yellows.
Yeah, no expectation for full courses in this race. And another slow bleed has been the lead from Blake Reynolds back to whoever has held the second spot today. Thompson 5.7 back, but it's taken 42 minutes to get to this point. So it's not a huge difference, it's just enough to make it frustrating because you just see that relative gap increasing by a tenth every lap or two.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting, like I said, when the driver changes occur. For Riley Thompson, we're going to see Ryan Carvell get in that car. We know Ryan Carvell is pretty decently quick, and arguably the faster of the two drivers in the 0-1, just going off of the rating. It's Blake Reynolds between himself and Rob. So I think we could potentially see these guys start to reel the leader back in. But again, you never really know until the second drivers get on the track.
Well, that's why it's important for Thompson to try to keep this gap small, because if that opportunity does exist, certainly Rob can wheel the car, and she showed that back at Imola earlier this year. So Thompson has to keep the 71 close in case Carwile doesn't have the pace that they're expecting or is just a little bit faster than Rob. You're really going to need to be as close as possible. And we tend to see drivers run a little bit past that halfway point as well in terms of pit stops. And they've often waited a lot longer than I thought they should to switch drivers, and we'll see if that continues to be the case today. Maybe just hoping that they have a little bit fresher rubber for the end of the race, but I would just be splitting this race right down the middle, or maybe lean it a little bit more heavily towards whichever driver has the higher rating or has the highest pace of the two this weekend. But we'll see how it pans out, but I expect Thompson and Carwile to maybe eat a chunk out of this 0-1's lead. I'm not convinced they're going to have the pace to completely run down Sarah Robb, though. That has yet to be seen. Again, that turn 10 exit has been a real awkward point for drivers today. They've really struggled to keep it tight on exit there and drifting out a little too wide and having to jump out of the throttle.
Yeah, even though it's a slight mistake, but in the penultimate corner. I think with turn 10, the tricky thing, it just seems like that corner is more open than it actually is, because you know it's a 90-degree left, but it just seems tighter than what the corner appears to be on the surface. So I think that, I think a lot of guys instinctively throw it in just a little bit too hard, and then you have to end up braking or letting off the gas, and you give up so much time down that straightaway. We've seen a lot of people making that mistake.
Yeah, Riley Thompson a little wide at the exit at turn 2. And leaving him vulnerable now to Rui Pinto, who has reeled him in. And this battle for second is reigniting. Thompson, Pinto, and Kingsbury here with 75 minutes remaining.
Yeah, second place almost seems to be cursed. Everyone who's gone up here has been making mistakes in one way, shape, or form. So with Thompson, just a few mistakes here and there, as you mentioned, to allow that 25 to get back there. And whether or not he's got enough pace to make that pass is going to be the next big question. And Kingsbury's also caught back up, effectively all nose tail now.
This is something we talked about in the pre-race. We expect it to be close, but you need to have a fairly sizable overlap in terms of raw pace to actually be able to make a pass here.
Or make a mistake.
Or make a mistake. And Pinto is right on top of Thompson, but it's going to take a little bit more out of either Pinto or less of Thompson to make this pass, to facilitate this pass. So a little wide there for Thompson. It almost looked like he was going to head to pit lane, but he tucked back in and completed turn 12 and back up the start-finish line again.
Yeah, Pinto not that good of an exit out of the final corner. Andrew Mickey coming in his Mercedes, going to be one of the first guys to come in for... I'm not sure this is exactly scheduled. This might be a little premature with 1:15 remaining.
Yeah, Eric Mickey climbing in the 86 now. I agree. I think it's a little bit premature. We'll see if it works out for him, though. Kurt Crum gets by, grabs a spot with the 86 team car in pit lane. Kingsbury dropping tires again. Getting excited. He smells the blood in the water from the attack on the 71 from the 25. And this is when they start dangling the carrot. You want to dive in there a little deeper, get on the throttle a little sooner. And this is when things start to get spicy. So as we close in on the halfway point of this race, the second place battle is reigniting. They are losing more time as they were at the beginning of the race when they fought. But how else are you going to make the passes? You got to ignite it. You can't wait forever in hopes that you'll somehow magically catch the leader that's been driving away from you for 45 minutes. You have to go after it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just going to be curious to see if he's going to potentially make another mistake and cost him some more time, because we already saw that one mistake off of turn 2 and how much apparent time it seemed to cost him. It just seemed like that car still got some decent pace, but he has to make sure it doesn't overstep that boundary. Also, just a quick look at the rules. Maximum driving time is 75 minutes, so they are basically, I think, about a minute to the good on that. So pretty much came in as early as you can.
Whoop! Oh, and again goes Pinto. And saw that coming from a little while away. It's easy to see when they track out a little wide at 2 that you know they're going to have quite the excursion on corner exit. And here's what it looked like trackside. That one wasn't quite as significant as what Ray Kingsbury had to deal with, but you see the damage is picked up on that left front, the same kind of damage that you see on Kingsbury's car, matched. So fender damage for the 25 from slamming that left front corner into the ground.
Yeah, as a driver, you don't really see that, right? Because you're too busy focusing on how the car is driving up ahead. You get some target fixation, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I'm a little bit off the track. Oh, God.
Yeah, again, you'd only know that it would do that if you did it once, and they've only done it once.
And luckily, they were both able to walk away from it. Yeah, with a car fairly intact.
To be fair, you probably want to drive away from it. If you're walking away from it, you've had a worse day. So.
Yeah, unfortunately, Nichols was walking away from it earlier.
Brought it back to the pits. Too much damage to continue, unfortunately. But Thompson still second place. Pinto third. Kingsbury fourth. This has been a very scrappy fight since the drop of the green flag. But 11 minutes shy of halfway, and 7.8 is the lead from Reynolds back to Thompson as they navigate the first chicane again.
Curious, out of this group of 3, who's going to be the first one to come down to pit road? Because again, as you mentioned, it is open. Guys can switch.
I'm never sure. I'm not sure if I want to do the overcut or the undercut today at this particular track. I think, again, I always think that overcutting or undercutting is such a big gamble, and it could either really pay off or really not pay off, and I'm not convinced I want to take that gamble. I like pitting with the people I'm racing because I can keep them in my sight the whole time, and I know that unless I massively make a mistake in pit lane, I'm going to come out right with them where I was. So it's, if you pit with them, you're going to end up with them again. If you try to do the overcut or undercut, you're throwing everything you have and kind of shaking it up and just hoping that it works out better. It often doesn't. So I'm generally, in a battle this tight, I'm team pit with each other.
Yeah, and I will say, though, I definitely know that for Pinto, he's probably going to be the one pitting last because he's got to continue out there.
Yeah,
still no sign of a teammate.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, he's going to try to hold out as long as he can, so he'll probably stay out until the car is out of fuel, or the others around him will be forced to pit a little sooner. Well, not necessarily forced, but I think they'll just do that on their own.
And I think for Pinto, it's unfortunate. I think if anything, they were kind of hoping some more guys would retire. There's only one car that has retired so far. That's the 164, that McLaren we saw that wiped out in turn 2.
Here's a battle beginning to formulate for 6th. Gary Thomas for Big D NRG and Sector 5 Black Balls Chris Sherburne. We've seen the 007 car have an off today. I think Gary Thomas has been pretty free and clear of dramas. Those are always famous last words.
Very much so. Another battle that's also potentially going to start to brew is Kurt Crum catching Christian Ost in the number 2 car. And remember that 88, that connection issue? They've been slowly making their way back up towards the rest of the competition, having to make up effectively a lap or 2 down from everyone else.
They're a top 5 car with top 5 speed, but not top 5 track position, and that's been the biggest bummer today for Bombshell Racing Team Odin. Just up the road is Ost getting pressure from the 888 Sustin Martin car of Anderson, who again is in no man's land here. These are lap down cars that he's dealing with at the moment. 17 seconds behind the next fastest car and 20 seconds above Gary Thomas in 6th. So really in the middle of nowhere. 2 cars going to pull off. Probably for a real pit stop this time.
Ooh, Kingsbury. Kingsbury, oh, makes a pass on Pinto as Pinto just gets on the brakes and lets him by.
Interesting. Go back and see how this formulated there as we were watching the other battle. Through turn 2, Pinto a little bit wide. It opened the door for Kingsbury, and I think he's just going to chuck it down the inside, and I think you're right. I think Pinto kind of allowed that to happen.
Yeah, Kingsbury was just being very aggressive on the curbs. You can see it again. He was aggressive in the first chicane and aggressive through there. He's a man on a mission.
Well, now it's getting down to crunch time. He knows he's only going to have a couple minutes left in the car, so make your mark now. If you've got anything left in it, go for it. Try to catch Riley Thompson and give your team the best possible chance of finishing on the podium here. Out of turn 10, that's been the spot that everyone's been struggling with. They carry on.
I think for Thompson, he's probably now a little bit more concerned looking back in his mirror. Familiar face.
Kinetic Racing down a lap. Jake Fox -1 at this point. And Big D NRG and Sector 5 Blackball continue their scrap. 1.1 seconds is the difference here. And last time by, Sherburne was 0.2 faster than the 003 ahead of him. I would expect to see some more driver swaps here in the next 5 minutes or so is when we'll see more drivers hit pit lane, and a few might stay out a little longer just to alternate and play a little bit more strategy.
Ooh, Kingsbury sideways into the first hairpin, still sideways, oh boy.
Yeah, he's, again, hanging that car out, trying to get everything he can. Here's a look at it again.
Yeah, just jumped on the curb. The car just trying to rebalance itself, kicks the back end out. And this is tough, too, because he's got to turn left, so it's going to force the back end to come out even more.
Here's what it looked like on board.
This will be a fun ride. Whoop, and then...
And he had to throw it into a downshift to get it slowed down, because if he hit the brakes, it was going to shift all the weight forward and he'd spin the car out. So that was heads-up driving by Kingsbury, but certainly getting after it and being aggressive. You know what they say about being aggressive.
It may go around. I mean, with the way he's driving, it looks like, it looks like it may.
Aggressive goes around. 5 fake Sim TV points. Anybody that can name that moment in racing history.
Actually, trying to remember what year that was.
I
know the driver. I know the driver, and I know the track, obviously, but I don't quite remember the year off the top of my head.
Aggressive goes around. Thompson, Kingsbury, Pinto. Some order of that has been the second place running order all day. And Thomas and Sherburne getting closer and closer, 7/10 between them. Sherburne continues to eat away a couple tenths a lap. That time by, it was 5/10. Also should note the sun getting lower in the sky.
Yeah, I was just about to say that actually, because I was looking, I was like, wow, it's gotten really dark. I mean, this makes sense because it's only actually 3 o'clock in the sim, but remember, this is during the North American summer, Northern Hemisphere summer, in the Southern Hemisphere the winter. So
shorter days.
Short days. Yep.
I don't think we'll quite get to sunset, but we might see that track temperature continue to fall. So go back
we'll see the VR users probably not too happy because sun's going to be blinding them down into turn 1, and especially into probably the most complex chicane.
A little bit of cloud cover, that'll help them with just a touch. Ooh, big grind on the curbing from Kingsbury. Heard the under tray hit the curbs, but it's in a spot that they've been using them all day, so I don't think it'll be a big deal.
I would love to look at the underfloor of that Aston Martin, because it would be probably absolutely annihilated with scrapes and marks with the way he's been driving that car.
Looked like a hot boy stance S13 after the end of the day. Some of the cars you see in Chicago, you're like, how do they drive that around?
I know.
Like you hit a squirrel and you're going to drag it along with you for a month. Ray Kingsbury has got something in his grill, and it's the 71 O'Reilly Thompson. He's right on top of him for second place.
Yeah, right on the eve of pit stops as well. Again, this is kind of one of those things where I wonder, maybe you can make it easier or not, or you can just try to do it the hard way and try to make it work, but unfortunately compromise his exit, couldn't get a run off.
Sweeps to the right, opens the door to the inside, outbrakes him. Are they going to touch into turn number 11? Ooh. Yes, they're going to touch. Doors just a touch.
Oh, but Thompson gets a little bit squirrely out of that final corner, was able to keep the traction and somehow make it through. Kingsbury, though, trying to get the slipstream down towards turn 1, gets a little bit. Is he going to dive?
He's going to. About it. Thompson defends well, though. A little bit of hip and shoulder from Kingsbury on Thompson. Oh, here's a dive. That's not going to work out. Thompson has to bail out, cross him over. Can't do it, though. Not going
to be able to.
Wow. That was, I don't think that was even intentional by Kingsbury. Thompson didn't appreciate it, though. You see the headlights flashing. Thought that was a little rude.
No, looking at it from Kingsbury's point of view, I think Thompson just braked earlier than Kingsbury thought. Kingsbury's like, oh, God. And
yeah, I don't think he did it intentionally.
Right.
It was definitely an accidental dive. He did it to avoid running into the back of Thompson, but try telling him that.
I mean, hey, he made it work. He wanted to get by. Found a passing opportunity, whether he liked it or not.
I'm sure the lady coming across 4 lanes of traffic to get to the exit today on I-90 also didn't mean to do that. But sometimes you have to let it go.
Good luck, everybody else.
Yeah, still headlights flashing from Thompson on Kingsbury.
He's just going to keep flashing.
He's going to keep flashing that button. And here he comes again. He's going to take a dive. No, he's not going to take the opportunity to repeat the favor. Still pressing the button.
Oh, gets a little bit loose, though.
Yeah, I saw the hands working. That's going to leave him. If he doesn't get out of his own head, he's going to have Pinto go by him, too. Yeah, I know it's a frustrating situation, but not much you can do about it now.
So that's kind of one of those things, right? I'm kind of a bit surprised he didn't decide, maybe since he got passed by arguably his main competitor. I'm not sure these two are aware of Pinto's situation or not having a second driver, but I'm surprised with Thompson just getting passed. Honestly, if I was him, I would just come into the pits.
Yeah, I concur. I mean, you lost a spot. You're going to end up having to fight him and be, get aggressive again. You're going to risk getting hit. I would just hit pit lane and get the job done and over with and pass it along to your teammate.
Yeah, because I say on a raw pace, I think definitely Kingsbury is faster than Thompson. The only reason we've seen Thompson get by is he's just made fewer mistakes than Kingsbury. So he's definitely not going to beat him out on the track, at least now, especially with the tires worn and beaten.
Yeah. And I think the other thing is Kingsbury's not afraid to make that dive. I think the actual pass wasn't intentional where he did it, but he's not afraid to try braking a little later. We haven't really seen people be that formidable on the brakes. Says, wow, there goes the
3 of the 4.
Yes.
You have it die off the track.
The Kinetic Racing car jumps off course there for a moment. And Thompson, you can tell that he's flustered because he continues to lose ground and kind of drag Pinto with him. You see the 60 Kinetic Racing car hit pit lane behind him.
Especially, too, if you feel like, you're a little bit out of it, for just getting past like that, and you're a little bit frustrated, a little bit hot under the head, because it all happens to all of us. I think it's probably now is a better time to switch than later, but, I mean, he's still looking pretty good. But slowly losing about a 10th here or there. Ooh, and gets very close to the curbs. Saw him do that little shake trying to avoid the curbs on the left.
So here comes Jake Fox into pit lane for Kinetic Racing. They're going to turn things over to the teammate. And he will jump out. Teammate will climb in. Blake Reynolds.
Wow, I actually just had the chance to take a look at the gap between first and second, and it expanded to almost 11 seconds.
Yeah, again, they're busy dealing with each other. And Reynolds and Penguin RC LLM Lodestar are just driving away. Under an hour remaining here in the Majors MTEC Sprint Series. And that means that everybody can trade off to their second driver, except for Rui Pinto, who doesn't have another co-driver to switch over to. And that will violate the drive time agreement, and they'll lose the points for today.
Yeah, unfortunately for Pinto, it's me, myself, and I.
Yeah. Wonder if he's got even a pit crew at the pit box. Have to get out to his own tires. It's like a mini game. You got to hit, square, triangle, X to hit the lug nuts.
Oh, there's a car that went way off the track in the corner. There, you saw it right there. That is Eric Mickey. What on earth happened to him? It's an odd place to go off. Yeah.
One of the Bombshell Racing Team cars. He was off the previous corner, I think, too. Off a second time. Here's a look. Real slow.
What if he's got damage or something? Because he was off in the wall. Oh yeah, there. He's off in the wall there, and then one off there. So
yeah, very strange. Might have had some suspension damage or something. That car, yeah, it's definitely got some left front suspension damage. That car will likely be retired. That's a shame. Kind of a strange scenario to go off. We didn't really know what happened. It was just a slow, lazy turn. Wonder he could have lost a monitor connection or something of the sort. I mean, it just looked like he just drove into the fence, basically.
Yeah, that first one seemed a little bit more, not legitimate, but it seemed a little bit more realistic because, it went off and then careened into the left-hand wall. But yeah, that second incident on the penultimate corner, that one was a little bit weird.
Yeah. So 58 minutes to go, and the top 5 drivers have still not yet hit pit lane. And really everybody back to 6th has not yet made a pit lane.
I see why. I was looking at his tire. The left front tire was not moving.
Oh, so he had damage even prior to that. I mean, what was that damage from the previous corner, though?
That was from turn 10 when he hit the wall, went flying.
Yeah. But how did the turn 10 incident happen?
That was just, he just dipped a little bit too much of a wheel into the dirt, and then the weight being shifted, and just went flying off.
It was just such a slow, like kind of lazy spin there. It was very weird. Either way, it's going to be an end of their day likely. That's going to be hard to repair. Oh, look at Riley Thompson, a little wide. He keeps it off the second stage of curbing, but certainly attacking, trying to find some time. So is Kingsbury, kicking up some dust in front. Wow, big tank slap for Thompson. Without Blake Reynolds in this race, this would have been super entertaining for the lead. But LLM Lone Star just checking out.
This will be a solid fight for those final 2 steps of the podium.
Yeah, I still think Thompson is a little hot under the collar after that big dive into turn number 3.
Just really curious to see of these two who does make the dive in first, and if one goes, will the other follow?
Pinto really hard on the brakes into 10. I think the other thing that's frustrating and why drivers get so aggressive after like an hour of this is you've been following the guy. Oh, look out, Pinto, really hot into 11, almost clobbered Thompson. But you've been following the same driver for 45, 50, 55 minutes. It's very frustrating because you see every little mistake that they make and you want to pounce, and they see every mistake that you make and take advantage of it. And it's frustrating to see the same guy over and over and over again, especially when he maybe rubs you the wrong way once or twice, and then you have to follow him for an hour. So I think there's definitely some frustration boiling over from just being around the same people the whole time as well.
Yeah, I also don't know if they had any prior history too, because they've raced another series together, Thompson and Kingsbury, if I'm not mistaken. So you never know, could be some pre-existing rivalry.
I'm sure there's part of that. As Reynolds approaches the Kinetic Racing car again, is Alex Sheridan behind the wheel now in the 60, going a second lap down. The lone flat 6 in the field, the lone Porsche. And will Reynolds hit pit lane this time? I would expect people to want to come shortly. I don't know why you'd go too much further.
Yeah, I think for Reynolds, I think he feels pretty confident. He's been putting in really solid lap times, still in the 24s.
You look away for 2 seconds and they trade spots every time. Here's a look.
Yeah, you can see just a little bit hard into that second hairpin. And actually, it was the exit that kills him. Just the car would not turn right. I think just got on the gas a little too early.
To watch these guys for collective 45 minutes, you pull the camera away for 20 seconds and they make a pass.
That is how it is in endurance racing. I am a bit surprised. I really would have thought Thompson there that then he would have just pulled off and bit, but no, still decided to stay on the track.
Pinto up to 3rd place now and actually closing in on Kingsbury. Now it's Aston versus Aston for second place.
Aston's in all the top 3 and in 4 of the top 5. So having a pretty good day.
So an earlier correction.
Unlike an F1.
Yeah, earlier correction on the ballast. The Aston Martin is also carrying an additional 15 pounds, or 15 kilograms, I should say. About 35-ish or so pounds.
Okay.
So.
Oh, so they're carrying 35 in total?
Well, no. So the Aston, I said earlier the Mercedes-AMG had 15 kilograms extra. So does the Aston. So from their base iRacing BOP, these cars are both carrying extra weight in comparison to the McLaren and the Porsche. It doesn't really seem to be affecting them negatively, though.
Yeah, I was going to say, they may want to actually probably think of
Boost it a
throwing
little
on
bit,
tomorrow, yeah. Maybe 2025.
It's these big engines, man. And they just look and sound cooler, I think.
Oh, that's true. That's especially the Mercedes. They did a fantastic job on the sound design. Props to whoever works in that department.
It's actually an Australian, Greg Hill.
Oh, Gregson. Oh, I didn't realize that.
There's two Greg Hills. There's Greg Hill,
Aussie Greg Hill,
and then there's an Aussie Greg Hill. Yeah.
Didn't realize he was in charge of sound.
Yep. And that vehicle dynamics people have done a great job. Talked to Kent Cook, who I know from the SRO World Challenge paddock that runs B Sport Racing over in the Pirelli GT4 America Series. They've got a couple of Aston Martin Vantage AMR GT4s, and drove it and said, you know, the fake iRacing tire that the car runs on is far too quick to match real-world lap times, but dynamically it does everything that it should do. And he said that if our real-life car drove like this car, we'd be winning every race.
I guess that's not too crazy, because I feel like in quite a few cases there's the iRacing car is a little faster than the real-world counterpart.
And he was applying real-world setups to the car, and it was responding in the right way. It was just way, way faster, a lot grippier than he was anticipating. But again, dynamically said it was pretty good. And I actually painted their livery. You can find on the Trading Paints website. B Sport Racing Aston that runs in GT America as well as the Pirelli GT4 America Series with co-driver Brian Putt.
Gotta say, I find the lack of pit stops disturbing.
Yeah,
Tire top 6 have not come in yet, and they've only got 5 or 6 minutes left to come in.
Yeah, so they're saving it to the last moment. And again, I see the strategy there, but I wouldn't do it if I was them. I see it, I wouldn't do it. It's like those big roller coasters at theme parks. Like, I see it, but I'm not doing it. So. And this strategy is one of those things. I would have split a little bit more evenly down the middle, or at least come already. I don't think waiting to the last possible second is a very safe strategy. Just because it doesn't give you any flexibility, right? I mean, if you spin out on the lap that you're supposed to hit pit lane, you're in real big trouble.
I guess, but I guess everyone finds this is more optimal. I guess because the tires are warmed up. I don't know. You have to, because I mean, they are endurance tires. We're talking about them taking a beating, but for the most part, they seem to be doing okay.
Yeah, the lap times actually have not dropped off almost at all, which is like very surprising. We've only seen, I mean, Reynolds is still running within a half second of the lap time. So I think, and I would have expected the tires to drop more, but I wonder if the weather is playing. The track temperature is extremely cool, so that's probably helping.
What time? Do you remember what track time we started at?
I don't, but it wasn't hot, I don't think.
Okay.
So it's not like they're sliding around on a greasy surface and roasting the rubber. It seems like they've been behaving. And if you haven't been sliding around a lot, you're not going to degrade the surface either.
Yeah, I guess because they also feel like they're in a rhythm too. After driving for what, almost 50 laps now?
There's something to that. Again, of course, it depends on your driver lineup as well. If your stronger driver is the first one, then you would probably want to stay on track as long as possible. But I think in some circumstances, I think the drivers are relatively equal. So I don't know, but we'll see. They're running out of time, though.
Yeah, I was going to say, we're definitely going to see pit stops in the next 5 minutes. Otherwise, they're all going to get disqualified.
We'll keep telling you that until it's next week, and they'll still be waiting to pit. That pit window is opened on March 28th, and they still haven't hit pit lane. So.
Oh.
The 888 car is in pit lane. Dominic Eisenberg jumps in behind the wheel of the Sustin Martin car.
Oh, I didn't even notice he went into the pits.
Yeah,
I thought he just crashed. I saw it like kind of pop, like as if some of them reset the car. I was like, oh, maybe he crashed, but no. As you mentioned, just a driver change.
Driver change, and this car was running in, I think, 5th spot, so it has dropped down to 6th now that Gary Thomas has gone by. Again, not a lot of people have hit pit lane. Dale Green is in the 007, so that car is switched, and here comes the leader into pit lane. So Blake Reynolds is in the box, and Matt Kingsbury is jumping in the 01, not Sarah Raub like we expected.
Oh.
Well, that's an intriguing combination.
Yeah, I'm surprised they decided to go with different entries, but...
And now the Shift Esports car takes over the lead. Rui Pinto behind. Riley Thompson in 3rd. Dominic Eisenberg back out on track in the 888, a lap down to the leaders now. But they will have to hit pit lane. I mentioned Dale Green in the 005 for Sector 5 Black Ball. Alex Sheridan is already in the Kinetic Racing MTEC 60, as we mentioned. And the Penguin RC car is now Brian Sohn behind the wheel.
Yeah, these guys, top 3 are driving like it's my college projects. Driving out there to the last possible minute. Submitted at 11:59.
Oh, no. that's a shockingly good. I'm totally using that now. The next time someone waits to the last minute to pit, waiting till 11:59 to submit. Oh, that is great.
You would think that since I'm doing a master's degree, I would be better than nope, still 11:59.
No, I genuinely think that's a fantastic. As here they come.
One of them comes in.
Whoop! Nope. Well, Kingsbury. Pinto stays out.
Pinto doesn't matter. He's getting disqualified either way.
I forgot about that.
I think he's just like, I'll stay out here. Yeah. No point in coming in.
Riley Thompson into turn 1, trying to look at how beautiful that sector is. Trying to make up as much ground as he can. Look out, though. Watch that second stage of curbing. And Matt Kingsbury, this is a critical lap. I really want to see what the 01 will do next time around on the stripe. They had a 12 to 15 second lead, but can they sustain that? Again, they waited a long time, so they're only going to have to sustain their lead for about 42 minutes or so when everything's said and done. But if that pace is slower than that of the co-driver, then Kingsbury is going to be in trouble if 71 and 02 get ready to roll. So Ty McIntosh is jumping in and jumping out of pit lane. And a 58-second stop was 2 seconds slower than that of the 01, and so Kingsbury is already through.
And Riley Thompson is approaching the pits this time by, and I really hope he is actually going to come in this time.
They're going to have to. So in goes Pinto, in comes Thompson. Just seconds to spare. So into the box they will go, and I think they were, other than Gary Thomas, they were the last holdouts, and indeed they were. So where is Gary Thomas? He's been cutting it real close.
I also was looking a little bit slow through that sector. I wasn't sure if that was just him or not, but yeah, he is, he might actually be over. I'm not sure if they're counting it by the time they enter the pits or when they actually physically change.
Ryan Carwile in for Bombshell Racing Team Thor, in for Riley Thompson, and Pinto is in the box, but he will likely stay there. And Matt Kingsbury's off track. Kingsbury was off in turn 11, and that is a critical time for him to not make a mistake. He will still cycle to the lead, but how much time will that give up? Here's a look at it. Just a little awkward off track. Not a huge loss of time there, but just a little bit.
Was also wide in turn 10. Ooh, got a huge helping a curve also through turn 2.
I'll tell you what, though, they're going to have a pretty sizable lead. Carwile's out of the box now, 16 seconds behind. Plus some. Yeah, Gary Thomas is going to be over drive time.
Oh, he stayed out. Huh. Interesting. Surprised he didn't pit. Yeah, because I'm not surprised that Stuart Elder, his teammate, who was in the server, I'm surprised he's not yelling at him, you know, I want to drive, please.
Nope. Buy yourself an Uber and go home. Don't get to drive that either. So Kingsbury leads the way as Kurt Crum has just gone by Rui Pinto, who's going to continue to drop down the order and will likely be out of this race because of the lack of a co-driver. Oh, yeah, Kurt Crum. Really wow, that was a little close. So it all comes down to lap times now. Kingsbury's previous lap, a 1:26.2. Not necessarily setting records here. So if Carwile can do the 1:24s that Thompson was doing, this could actually swing towards the 71.
Yeah, he's made up a pretty decent chunk of time the last few times as Kingsbury's been getting up to speed. So, yeah, as I mentioned, it's going to be a matter of time to see if he's actually going to be able to catch him.
So this time through, what's Carwile run? This is a critical lap. While Kingsbury's still kind of learning the road, is Carwile any quicker? Well, that wasn't. That was his first lap out, a 1:32. So we'll see this lap if Carwile can eat into that lead at all.
Yeah, by comparison, Reynolds, sorry, not Reynolds, never mind, hang on. Matt Kingsbury's outlap was a 1:30.6.
Interesting to know. Sheridan and will jump up into 8th now, past Pinto in the box. Ty McIntosh not too far behind. His outlap was a 1:27.036. Actually, he was a lap sooner, wasn't he? So that was a full speed lap. And we'll see. We'll see if the top 4 get any closer, but a little tricky to tell right now as Gary Thomas is still splitting the difference of the front runners here that have already made their stops. But Kingsbury out in front. Across the line this time. What's the lap time going to look like? If it's in the 24s to low 25s, looking really good. A 1:25.1, not a bad lap. And Ryan Carwile, if he is not immediately eating into this lead, I don't know that they're going to have time to run down Kingsbury. They really need to be on it. 18 seconds is the gap, and that's a lot of time to make up. And across the line this time through a 26.0, that's a full second slower. So unless Carwile turns things around very quickly, I think Kingsbury's looking pretty safe at the top of the order here.
Yeah, no, Matt Kingsbury jumping in. We know that Matt's fairly quick, so he's going to be putting in some decent times. So it's going to be tough for Carwile to try to chase him down.
41 minutes to go. And no battles on the racetrack at the moment. Everyone's cycling back after their pit stop sequence. Pit stops are complete with the exception of Gary Thomas, who has yet to hit pit lane. Kurt Crum is off track.
Oh, this is in the pit road entrance. Interesting.
I don't think you were meant to hit. Well, maybe he did. What happened here?
I think he was coming into pit because he needs to change with Colin Daner. But
right.
how he messed that up. I think caught some grass on the entry.
Yeah, the left side tire's really close, right? No,
he didn't actually. You
know what it might have been? It might have been a downshift. Let's listen.
Yeah, I was going to say, it looked like he was coming in a little hot.
If it's a downshift, yep, that's what it is. Probably a downshift into first gear, which will definitely spin up the rear tires and have you have a bad time. So Kurt Crum will loop that car and bring it into the box.
At least on the bright side, he didn't hit anything.
Here's Gary Thomas.
Finally deciding to give Stuart Alder a chance, so I don't think it's going to matter a whole lot at this point because they're 5 minutes over their driving time.
Yeah, Carwile, a 1:25.990, another 1:25.1 for Kingsbury. 19 seconds is the gap. And notably, again, we talked about how the Northern Hemisphere summer is the winter in the Southern Hemisphere. Have a look at the temperatures again, still in the 80s. It's not going to drop much lower than that, but look at the sky. We're getting very late in the day here. We'll be ending essentially at dusk. And while the conditions won't change a whole lot, I think that will change the visuals of everything a little bit.
It's going to make it a little harder to spot some of these corners, especially because there's no, in a lot of these corners, there's no visual indications or brake markers, so it's kind of hard to spot. Yeah.
No lighting at all, so that will be a very scary darkness. I don't think we're going to get deep into the darkness at all. It'll still be sunlight, but very, very low in the sky sunlight. Daner back in the 88, so they will not violate their drive time, provided that Daner can make it to the end of the race without another connection problem. Of course, this issue early on definitely hurt their day. They started 5th, running 9th a lap down right now. But there are 3 cars on their lap that they can pass if Daner can find the pace.
Yeah, Daner's currently trying to catch Brian Sohn just up the road in the number 2 Penguin RC's Complex Simworks machine.
Yeah, it's 8.7 up to Brian Sohn. And Stuart Elder in the 003. Haven't seen him yet today. We'll get about 40 minutes of drive time in. And there's Matt Kingsbury about to put the 5th place car a lap down. Penguin RC LLM Lone Star just absolutely dominating this one, but it wasn't for the entire race. Remember, the 71 led some laps early with Riley Thompson behind the wheel, but just gave up that lead in the first 15 minutes or so. And then since then, it's been all Penguin RC out front with the 0-1.
Yeah, absolutely. They've been doing a really stellar job bringing that lead out even more. So it's pretty much, it is exactly the 0-1's race to lose as long as Kingsbury doesn't, Matt Kingsbury doesn't make any mistakes in that Aston Martin. Should be fairly easy to bring it home. And Ryan Carwell, too, even him in the 71, he seems to be doing a solid job that he's breaking away from the 0-2. Ty McIntosh, who's drifting out to a lonely 3rd place in about 8 seconds behind.
Yeah, Carwell is losing ground to Matt Kingsbury out front, though, so I don't think we'll see him reel him back in, at least in the short term, but getting after it the best he can.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to force the issue too much either. I think with 20 seconds, you get 20 seconds to make up, you got 37 minutes on the clock. Not really realistic to make that back up, so
Right.
I think he's just going to kind of pace himself to the end.
Yeah, just focus on the drivers behind you. I don't think it's worth chucking the car in the fence to try to eat into a gap that you know you're not going to be able to do. Should also mention, though, the 4 car of Dominic Eisenberg, look where he is, chasing down Ty McIntosh is 30 seconds up to the Shift Esports car. He won't get there, but just knocking on the door of a podium after a day that started, I wouldn't call it bad, just mediocre.
Yeah, fairly mediocre for the most part. Just hoping that he can kind of get himself up there, especially because I think if he was able to stick with the draft, he might have been able to continue going. And I just noticed that's the 25 car up ahead.
Yeah, so it looks like Marwa Mafta has jumped in, and I wonder if it's going to be enough, though. It doesn't matter. They're already 10-3 laps down. I don't know if Marwan jumped in with enough time remaining as he bobbles in front of the AAA.
As far as I read in the rules, there's no minimum drive time. There's a max.
Okay, so that's right. Pinto just pulled off and gave those 3 laps up, but they shouldn't get disqualified.
Yeah, although again, it's a really hard pill to swallow considering they were in 3rd place, and now they're 3 laps down in 10th. But yeah, at least they get the chance to finish the race out, which I think is definitely something.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's finishing it out in 10th, 3 laps down, though, is not really where that car deserved to finish. But that's just one of the complications of team racing in an online service. But through goes the 888.
Yeah, didn't you say that one year for the 24, the Daytona 24, you had someone that just didn't show up?
Yep, they were supposed to start too. How do you miss the? I mean, I get missing the stint at 2 in the morning. I don't know how you missed the start of the race.
Yeah, I remember you missing your stint at 2 in the morning for the spot 24.
Doing well.
I was like, all right, I guess. I was like, luckily I just woke up. I was like, yeah, I'll take the reins, Andrew.
Didn't you crash it like first stint?
I did.
The car was down on power. It was limping around.
I will say, no, it was not that bad. The other actually
that's what someone who crashed the car would say.
Listen, I also didn't realize that there was a giant bump on the exit of what was that, Pua? Yeah, the left-hander, the downward.
Yep.
Yeah, there's a giant bump on the runoff area.
Why were you in the runoff area, though?
Because I was about to spin the car, the back end was feeling a little light, so like, I'll just bail out of the corner and not wreck the car, and then I ended up wrecking the car either way. So
great, good work.
Yeah, that was so long ago. That's before we even had the
I lost
day-night
my
cycle.
A road license in 2018, and have since not even bothered to get it back because you don't need it for anything.
Yeah, you really don't. Ooh, self-25 go a little bit off the track.
Yeah. Anyway, 34 minutes to go. Matt Kingsbury, that is, continues to lead the way in the 0-1. it's Penguin RC, LLM Lodestar, Bombshell Racing Team Thor, and Shift Esports, the top 3. Then Sustin Martin, Big D NRG, your top 5. Sector 5 Blackball, Kinetic Racing, Penguin RC Complex, Bombshell Racing Team Odin, and DriveSVR.com, the rest of your top 10. Love the look of the Spark VR livery. The kind of powder-coated reflection, semi-gloss there in the sunlight. Looks awesome.
Yeah, all the LLM cars have really solid paint schemes. Really suits the Aston Martin as well, just the bodywork.
It does. Great shapes, great gradient there on the side, that particulate gradient, whatever you call that.
I think another solid paint scheme that you can definitely see on an actual car.
Totally. The other being the 60 Kinetic Racing car. I could totally see this. This looks like it would drop right into the GMG Racing camp at SRO. The blue and the patterns and the highlighter yellow accents. It just, you could drop that car right into the paddock and it would fit right in. And probably make it farther through the weekend than most of the cars in SRO from GMG, but you know, you could throw it off a cliff and it would come out in better shape than it would during the race weekend. They have the worst luck, and sometimes the decision making can be questionable.
I mean, is it like Ferrari questionable, or
not from a strategy standpoint? If you get what I'm getting at, but just over half an hour remaining. You're watching the MTEC Sprint Series round number 3. First 30 minutes or so were very entertaining. We've since just had drivers kind of logging laps at this point. 4 drivers on the lead lap: Kingsbury, Carwile, McIntosh, Dominic Eisenberg, Penguin RC, LLM Lone Star, Bombshell Racing Team Thor, Shift Esports, and Sustin Martin, the only teams remaining on the lead lap. Pit stops are complete. Just run into the end now.
Yeah, pretty much, especially because Kingsbury's been keeping on a very fervent pace, similar to what Reynolds was doing earlier. Carlisle and McIntosh, and even Eisenberg for that matter, a little bit slower than their preceding teammates. But Kingsbury keeping the push going forward, still the only driver to really be in the 24s consistently.
And continuing to lap in the 24s. Lap after lap after lap. Next closest car on speed is the Sustin Martin car, 125.429, 5/10 off of what Kingsbury is running. .22 seconds back is Ryan Carwile. This car started the day by leading a couple of laps, 4 to be exact, with the controls of Riley Thompson. Thompson then gave up the lead to 0-1, the 0-2, and the 25, and the 0-1 has since never looked back. There's a look at Ty McIntosh with Ray Kingsbury behind the wheel early. This car had quite the eventful day. Off track a couple of times, had a little bit of contact. Airborne once, all 4 tires off the ground. And it is still running on the podiums. This would be a great result for them, despite all the perceived calamity. Might have been very much behind control before, but running third now.
Yeah. Yeah, although at the rate, based on the last lap times, he may need to start picking him up a little bit more, because he's ran a 127.9 last time through this lap. Okay, this lap was a lot better, 126 flat. I was going to say, if he kept running slower lap times, he might have been in danger of Eisenberg in the Triple 8 catching him, but I think should manage to hold on to 3rd place.
Alex Sheridan behind the wheel of the Kinetic Racing car from 10th to 7th. Not a particularly great day, but not a bad one either. They moved up in the field.
Yeah, slow climb forward for them, up into 7th. There's nothing to scoff at, considering they started back in 10th, so up 3 places. I'm taking a look at Colin Daner. It looks like he's been reeling in Brian Stone a lot. Whoa!
Well, there it goes. That was commentator curse, Finian.
That was perfect timing.
Yep.
Or horrible timing, depending on how you look at it.
Well, I'm going to guess that they're going to think horrible timing, Finian. Nice work. Let's have a look.
I was like, oh, look, there's 4 seconds to talk about that.
Yeah, right here. A little too much curb on exit. Once, twice, thrice, and around it goes.
At least you went right instead of left, so it didn't damage the car. At least from the hitting the wall. Not sure if you got any suspension damage.
Yeah, we've seen the suspension damage be the biggest problem with this. Dropped into neutral and then a reverse. Never stalled it. Kept it rolling. That drops them another lap down now.
Yeah, basically went from being 4 seconds back to 19 seconds back, so don't think he's going to have enough time to catch zone, unless he makes a mistake.
Yeah, the most volatile one at this point, I think, is going to be Stuart Elder and Dale Green. There's Elder in the 003. Dale Green is the Sector 5 black ball car. This was a different drive. Was this? Who was what? Never mind. Dale Green, he's been in the car since I was going crazy. But Dale Green is running a little bit quicker than Stuart Elder, so we could see that become a little volatile. So could the second place battle. Shift Esports car might have enough time to catch Ryan Carwile if Carwile makes a mistake. But this Sector 5 black ball car, another car that we haven't seen a lot of today.
It's pretty much been stuck in the midfield and has remained there since. But for them too, also a solid run, up 2 spots for them. So I don't think really too much to complain about. Might be able to, and again, we do think they should be able to. They're going to actually end up finishing in 5th if there's a penalty for the 003, which to my understanding of the rulebook, there should be a penalty coming for drive time.
Kingsbury was asking about that. Trackside was asking about the drive time violation for the 003. We'll update you if we have any more information on that.
Yeah, I don't think we'll get anything during the race. That's, I think, a post-race penalty that'll probably be given out.
Yep, I would expect the same.
I'm sure for them, they probably just want to get it done on the track, though. That's usually the best way to do it, just get on the track. That way no one can argue about it. About 7, almost 7 seconds behind. There.
Where's the fun in not arguing about something? That's like half of racing is arguing.
Yeah, I mean, if last F1 season was anything to go off of, it's mostly arguing.
Got to fire somebody at the end of it. Right, Lewis? I just have all the post Silverstone chatter from Lewis and Max was just so golden. Max saying that he's glad that Lewis could hit an apex still at 37. And Lewis pretending like Leclerc gave him any more space than Verstappen did last year. It was way tighter. Yeah. But, you know, it is what it is.
And one car didn't go flying off into the gravel trap.
Yep. Yeah, just great chatter. Carwile on the brakes. In second place for Bombshell Racing Team Thor. Again, with a full course yellow, that could have reset things a little bit, but I just think that the 01 is the better car and has the better driver combo today. 20 laps to go now, roughly.
Yeah, I mean, you'd be hard-pressed to find anyone that feels like they don't deserve it. They've just been out there kicking, putting some really solid laps on and pretty much no mistakes, really. I don't think we've seen this car go off track. I think maybe a little bit at the beginning, but like maybe a slight dip here and there. But ever since Reynolds broke away, I haven't really seen any mistakes from the 01. For the 71 and everyone else, quite a few mistakes, especially between the 71 and the 02. A lot of argy-bargy between them.
Ty McIntosh is getting after it, trying to reel in Carwile, but that gap has slipped the other direction. The one that hasn't is Dale Green and Elder. Green is beginning to chunk away the 6-second advantage that Elder has over him. But again, there were some questions around the 003, whether or not there was a drive time violation there. Again, we dealt with post-race, but Dale Green might not be aware of that situation.
Well, he's going to be in for a rude awakening when he sees the official race results.
Everyone's kind of found their own room to race right now for the most part. Working lap number 67 of approximately 85. 24 minutes, 50 seconds remain. Alex Sheridan still trying to click away laps. About 38 seconds behind Dale Green. 15 in front of Brian Sohn, who's chunking away about a half second a lap on the Kinetic Racing Porsche. That's a 15-second gap. I don't think there's enough time even with that difference, but still chipping away.
Yeah, not a whole lot of action from the 2 car in the later parts of this race. Pretty much, like most people, pretty much in the middle of no man's land. Matter, just keep taking those laps off. Just make sure you don't bin the car.
Staying well clear of the curbs. That's one interesting thing about the exit of turn 3 is that we haven't, or turn 2 I should say, we haven't really seen anybody purposely avoid those curbs. They've all been using a little bit of them, but I would just stay very clear of that whole area just because it gives you a little bit more margin. I'm not sure how much time you're really gaining by using that extra 2 feet of track out there. It's a pretty slow chicane leading up to it, so I don't really think you need that extra racetrack. It's just comfortable to drift out a little wider, but that puts you in the danger zone for the accidents we've seen happen over there. And really, those are the only real places we've seen actual crashes today.
Yeah, turn 2 and turn 10.
Yep.
Yeah,
well,
pretty much.
Turn 10, I mean, I almost don't count that one. We've seen turn 3 a number, or turn 2 a number of times into that inside and outside wall.
I'm just saying for mistakes in general.
Yeah, for mistakes, I think turn 10 actually takes the cake there. But there's
I'm a bit
less consequential.
surprised. I'm a bit surprised the hairpin's ever been more of an issue. Those are really tight corners. The first one is given a few issues, but like I said, not so many as I thought. Especially, I'm a bit more surprised from turn 10 catching so many drivers out, and we've seen many drivers consistently dip their wheels out there.
Kingsbury coming back to 17 to go, 23 minutes left. And we'll cross the line 26.5 seconds clear of Ryan Carwile, who continues to make laps in the BRT Thor Mercedes AMG. We'll ride on board with Ryan Carwile for a lap. Just let you listen to the sounds of the Mercedes. We'll be back in a moment. Under 20 minutes remaining in the MTEC Sprint Series, round number 3 from Winton Motor Raceway. Kyle Heyer joined by Finian Daguna, watching the last 1 hour and 40 minutes of competition. The first half hour fraught with all sorts of battles in the front of the field. The last hour or so has been a little bit calmer. Ever since the pit stops, it's been very single file, but still some potential for some position change before the end of this race. Out front, though, it's looking pretty solid. Matt Kingsbury has been leading this team. The Penguin RC LLM Lone Star car has been just rock solid. Blake Reynolds, the other driver, led a whole bunch of laps, and to this point in the race, about 15 laps ago, they've led 64 of 70 laps completed. So they've been out front and dominant for most of it. Finian. Ty McIntosh runs third, but Ryan Carwile and Riley Thompson were the two drivers competing this car today. They led 4 laps early with Thompson behind the wheel, but now run second, about 30 seconds back.
Yeah, and you can really see that gap's extended quite a bit. I think when Carwell got in the car, I think the gap was about 18 seconds, so now jumped up 10 seconds and still got 20 minutes remaining on the clock. So I think for Carwell, again, just there's no real competition from behind. Might as well just kind of settle out, accept the second place. Just can't quite compete with that 0-1.
Yeah, and it's not looking volatile back to third either. Shift Esports, Ty McIntosh paired up with Ray Kingsbury, brother of the current race leader. And they were battling for the lead for some time, but have now fallen to third. Dominic Eisenberg in the 888 for Sustin Martin. This car kind of has been all over the top 10 today, but has settled closer to the podium than to not. Stuart Elder runs in 5th, and apparently the Sector 5 Blackball car is aware of the drive time situation on the 003. They are not treating it as definitely a problem for that car in front of them, though, so they're going to race like it doesn't exist and hope that the penalty falls their way. But Dale Green chasing Stuart Elder, who, again, we don't believe is going to have enough time to make drive time.
Yeah, although that being said, for this 007 doesn't quite look like they've caught up anymore. They brought it from, I think, around 6.7 seconds to around 6 seconds, and they've been kind of stabilized with that gap for around the last 5-10 minutes, so haven't really caught up to that McLaren.
Yeah, they're definitely taking inches away, not feet, but still some time left in this race for things to go awry. The problem is, without anybody side by side, you're unlikely to see people have, crashes or anything, at least multi-car accidents. So your chance for carnage and chance for opportunity to move forward is severely reduced with that sort of situation. But the laps are clicking down quickly here. 13 laps left in this race, about 16 minutes and 30 seconds to go.
I think I just saw Colin Daner flash out for a few seconds.
Yeah, been a problem.
Still an issue.
Problem for them early was Daner behind the wheel, and again, there it is, flashes out, and this is what took him out of the race early, and it might do it again to them late in this race. That's a long time to be absent, and just like it took him out early, they're gonna have a real bad day today.
Yeah, I think that might have been the second nail in the coffin for them.
Yeah, and that's enough nails to keep them buried, I think, for lack of a better analogy. Well, they call it the landed down under, right? So land is 6 feet under for the 88 today. Oh man!
Why would you not? Why you should have done journalism instead of computer science?
The land 6 feet under for the 88. Bury this one, forget about it. That's for sure.
It's going to be some slight good news, too. Ooh, we see the 02 almost go flying off the track. The 88 pretty much retiring at this point. It's going to be good news for the 25. They were about 2 laps behind. Should be able to get that for 9th place, since consolidation. Yeah,
this was Rui Pinto and now Marwan Mafta that's jumped in this car to save the car from a DNF. Otherwise, Pinto would not have been able to earn points for this race, but with a max drive time but no minimum, that means that Marwan jumping in a couple laps after Rui left the racetrack means that they'll be able to earn points in this one. But the car is not running where it should have been running. It should be in the top 4. But just a disappointing day for a lot of people in this field.
What was I going to say? I haven't been surprised by Daner's internet issues, because I don't feel like when he was racing in Scars, I don't think he had really any issues from what I remember.
I don't remember it either, but we also didn't have to run for very long in those races either. But the issue is here, he's only been in the car for 20-ish or so minutes, so.
I mean, those we usually run what, like 2-3 sprint races over the course of like an hour and a half. So I mean, he never lost connection from the servers, from what I remember. So
yeah, he's never had amazing internet. It's just never been this bad.
Yeah, so I'm just curious what's happened with it. I'm sure he's definitely not happy getting kicked twice out of the same race. So
I think Kirk Crum is frustrated because at this point their championship hopes are pretty much dashed. With how the start of their season has gone. And they've been competitive in every round, just hasn't really gone their way.
Yeah, the second round, I forgot what happened to them in round number 2, but really round 1 and 3, both just purely off of internet issues, really have kicked them down.
Closed it in on 10 laps to go. Now Daner drops into 10th, and Marwan Mafta jumps up to 9th. There's your race leader, Matt Kingsbury. Blake Reynolds, the other co-driver. They've just been driving away. Quick laps here, though, and coming up on 10 left. Working lap 75 of 85. Ty McIntosh for Shift Esports. Again, a car that we mentioned earlier was pretty wild looking out there. It was getting slid around and put off track and a little bit of contact with the 71, but it all has kind of calmed down a little bit with McIntosh behind the wheel, and both drivers have been extremely fast. And Shift Esports now in 3rd place, 22 seconds shy of 1 spot better. Dale Green still inching closer to Stuart Elder, but I think they're going to run out of time unless they find a lot more pace. Stuart Elder 5.2 up the road in the 003 for Big D NRG. Sector 5 black ball.
Yeah, I think they're really going to have to hope the 003 just kind of makes a mistake here in the later going. Unfortunately, there's no direct pressure from behind or in front of them, so he's been kind of continuing at his own pace, so they're going to pretty much have to just catch up on raw pace, Dale Green.
Well, this is one of those scenarios that's frustrating for Green because if you were within a half second or so of Elder, you could put on enough pressure to make Elder make a mistake. And gaining and being able to be that close would pressure Elder into making more mistakes and letting Green get even closer. But that's kind of a self-feeding feedback loop there. What's the word I'm looking for?
Negative feedback loop?
Positive feedback loop. Where you get closer, the closer you get, the easier it is to get the guy to make a mistake. When you're 5 seconds back or 4.8 seconds back, you're not close enough for him to really be looking in his mirrors and getting worried yet. So, especially with only 11 minutes to go. So that's one of those frustrating no man's land issues. If you could get within a second or so, very different story here to the end. But right now, I think Green's going to be stuck in 6th place unless Elder makes a mistake on his own. McLaren versus Aston in that sense. 10 minutes and 53 seconds to go. I will tell you what, though, that gap has been coming down a lot quicker lately. I wonder if Elder has cooked his tires or something, because the last couple of laps he's been 3 to 4 tenths slower.
Oh, messed up turns 1 and 2 a little bit there. So I think should be able to catch up a little bit more.
Yeah, 4.3 now. So this actually could get interesting towards the end. Again, the closer he gets, the easier it will be to justify the glance up in the mirror from Elder and thus lead to the opportunity for mistakes. Ten minutes on the dot left to go. Not a great gain for Green that time through. Lost a couple tenths of a second. He's got Ryan Carwile right behind him. Carwile's kind of dropped off a cliff in terms of pace the last few laps. 1.4 seconds slower than Kingsbury the last time around. And that's a lot of pace to be losing.
Yeah, I think it's probably gone from just cruising cruising mode. He's got 22 seconds to spare to the guy behind him, so I think he just really wants to make sure he doesn't accidentally bin the car after all the hard work Thompson put in earlier. Just bring the car home in one piece to serve a solid second place.
Ooh, big jump there for Matt Kingsbury on the curbing. Again, he's got a lot of distance to play with. The only thing that can wreck their day now is if they actually physically crash into something hard enough to break the suspension. It's almost coast home worthy at this point. 34 seconds clear with 9 minutes to go.
It's a bit surprising considering he's got over 30 seconds of a lead. He's still jumping over the curbs like that.
Well, not much fun
to
not,
throwing.
you know, like what's the fun in just putting around, you know, you can get after it. You've got enough, as long as you don't stuff it in the fence, you can play with it a little bit. You've got time and space and the pace to you know, have fun out there and get after it. But I think the one thing that would be the worst thing to do is slow yourself down and get yourself out of your rhythm.
Yeah, that is always a big thing that a lot of people don't talk about, is going slow to the point where you are almost a danger to yourself because you're driving so slow. You may end up spinning yourself out because you just the balance of the car is just something you're not used to driving at a slower speed.
7 laps left in the 8 minutes that we've got remaining. Carlisle, McIntosh, second, third. Dominic Eisenberg again. We've chatted about briefly. Elder and Green, though, continue to get closer. 3.5 is the gap here. Green might be sensing that he's making up some time.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is where I think the pressure is going to start to mount a little bit more, especially when your opponent makes up 2 seconds in the last 3 laps.
You're watching the relative screen. If you're Elder, you're watching that screen, and when that number starts to come down a little faster than it has been, you know, even though you're not quite glancing in the mirror yet, it's still a concern.
Yeah, now almost 3 seconds back. So for Green, really, the key thing is he's got to make sure he doesn't make a mistake while pushing.
Got Ray Kingsbury waiting for us. Let's bring in Ray and chat with him here the last couple of laps. Ray Kingsbury, driver of the Shifty Sports number 02. Teammate Ty McIntosh behind the wheel right now, running third. Ray, welcome. Pretty wild day for you the first hour or so of the race. Really getting after it in the red 02 Aston Martin Vantage AMR GT4. But so far so good. It looks like you guys can bring it home to a podium.
Yeah, Ty's driving great out there. I think we'll get back to the third, and it was a ton of fun, that track. I really like how you can really attack the curbs here. A lot of fun. Yeah,
it was fun watching you battle with the 71 of Riley Thompson. Leaning each other a couple of times there. Saw some headlights flashing at one point after you passed him for the second spot, but looked like all in good fun there though. And you mentioned the curbs, but this track just feels like a really fun place where you can really make aggressive moves, and you kind of have to. I don't think you can get positions easily here. You really have to make dives for him to get the spots.
Yeah, when I passed Riley the last time, I wasn't even really trying to pass him. He was about 50 meters early on the brakes, and it was either that or hit him, so.
Yeah, that's what we gathered when we saw that. It was definitely like a dive out of the way to avoid the contact. But fun to watch, Ray. Should be talking to you here shortly, finishing third if you can bring it home here. But about 6 laps left in 6 minutes, so we'll talk to you in a little bit.
Yeah, have fun, guys.
Kingsbury running with Shifty Sports. Finney, go ahead.
Yeah, that's the thing about talking about bringing it home. Dominic Eisenberg, he's reeling that gap pretty well. Again, I think it's going to be a couple laps too short. But that gap's now under 9 seconds, and at one point it was, I think, 22, 25 seconds. So he's brought it down quite a bit. Again, I don't think enough, but he's been moving it around a second a lap faster than the 02.
Yeah, trying to eat into it the best he can. Dale Green continues the assault on Stuart Elder's gap. It's down to 2.7, and this one is very real of turning into a battle here at the end. But only 4 laps left next time by, so Green and Elder, if they're going to trade these positions and get that Sector 5 blackball car into the top 5, they're running out of time.
Battle for that final place inside the top 5 between these two drivers. 2 hours and it comes down to this.
And what a rebound this would be for the 007. Remember, they started things off down in 8th, but they dropped backwards because of a spin early in the going. But have since driven their way back up towards the top 5, and within almost 2 seconds of having 5th spot. Some traffic for Matt Kingsbury to navigate, but No pressure up front. The focus is all now on this battle for fifth. The big DNRG car of Stuart Elder. He'll have to find some of that here in the final 5 laps or so. A lot of focus in the cockpits right now. The last couple of laps for the drivers that are locked in a heat of battle. I think you're right about Eisenberg. I'm not sure he's going to get to McIntosh, but ate a huge chunk of that gap up to the Shift Esports car. Just needed another half hour or so.
I applaud him for keeping on going. I mean, he made up a second and a half, 1.8 seconds in the last lap alone. So he's been making huge inroads.
Again, I think the tires also, for those that have been out here for a little bit longer, again, it's a relatively cool event. We have not seen a lot of tire fall off in terms of lap time, but again, the tires will always continue to, deep into a run, they'll start to get worse. Whether or not that is reflected in lap times is something different, but that Elder could have overworked the tires a little bit. Same thing with McIntosh. That could, necessitate the variability in the lap time there, but after 2 hours, this race could have been 45 minutes shorter or maybe 45 minutes longer. Ryan Carwile, the second place car, is behind Dale Green a little ways back. About to put these guys the second lap down to the second place car. Or I should say first lap down. 2.3 is the differential from 5th to 6th. 6.9 is the gap from 3rd to 4th, McIntosh and Eisenberg. But working lap number 83 of 85, that is 3 laps to go. Two minutes and 30 seconds.
And really,
might actually be 1 to go next time by. We should be getting pretty close to it, I think.
Yeah, I don't know. I think we might. I don't know. It really depends. You could actually. You has more than enough time to actually slow down and make it 1 lap to go. Depends if he wants to do that or not.
Yeah, I'm not sure that drivers really be paying too much attention to that particular thing. I mean, it doesn't really do him any good. It's not like he needs to do that. Unless they're going to run out of fuel, but that wouldn't be something that they'd have to contend with.
Yeah, one less lap for things to happen.
True. 1.5 seconds. Dale Green needs that extra lap to happen.
I think he's going to be begging for Kingsbury to keep on pushing.
Not sure he's going to get it. Oh, he might. We're heading down towards turn 11. Yeah, a minute and 40 seconds. We will know at the start-finish line what the situation is going to be. There is the leader in the final corner, turn 12, and there's the white flag. It will be 1 lap to go this time through. It was within a couple seconds of being different, but Matt Kingsbury will pick up the white flag 1 more lap around here at Winton Motor Raceway. And 1.6 seconds, and Dale Green, he's going to see that white flag and know that he needs to get the job done the next time around. That's a really tall order.
It really is. I definitely think he might have needed that extra lap. But unfortunately, he's going to have only 1 to do anything with it. If anything, he's going to try to just force some pressure on Elder to go flying off the track.
Final lap for the 5th place battle. And this is when Dale Green's going to look up and see that white flag waving and know that he's got to go. Will there be enough pressure to Elder to make him make a mistake? Big understeer for Green. Has to get out of the throttle. Isn't going to do it. Not this half of the lap anyway. Kingsbury is closing in on sealing the deal for Penguin RC and LLM Lone Star. Blake Reynolds got in the car early, started in second in this Aston Martin Vantage AMR GT4. Jumped in past Riley Thompson, drove away, led the vast majority of the laps. Teammate Matt Kingsbury jumped in, and they led the rest of the way. Checkered flag, and the MTEC Sprint Series Round 3 goes to Penguin RC, LLM Lone Star. Kingsbury and Reynolds, they do it this time in the 0-1. Ryan Carwile in the 71, and Riley Thompson will be second in the Bombshell Racing Team Thor car. Meanwhile, for 5th in class and overall. Stuart Elder and Dale Green. 1.4 seconds is the differential, but only 2 corners left. And Elder looks like, if he doesn't make a mistake here, he's a little wide, but I don't think there's going to be enough time. Green needed another couple laps. He won't get them. Elder will bring it home in 5th behind Dominic Eisenberg and McIntosh in the Shift Esports car, which was driven by Ray Kingsbury earlier. But man, did Penguin RC put on a display of dominance today.
Yeah, I got him burning it out. Well deserved in my opinion, because he did a fantastic job. 2nd win of the season for these guys out of the 3 races we've ran so far. 1 at Imola and getting their 2nd win here at Winton. Yeah,
no Sarah Robb today. It was Kingsbury that jumped in, so they've won with in 2 events with 3 different drivers. Blake Reynolds, the common denominator there, and as in the other round, a very, very strong event. Here's a look at your race results. And
unofficially.
Unofficially, yep. Penguin RC, LLM Lone Star, Bombshell Racing Team Thor, Shift Esports, Dustin Martin, Big D Energy. This is the question mark. 1.3 seconds was the differential, but was there a drive time violation? That will have yet to be seen. That would switch those 2. Sector 5 Blackball would move up to 5th if that were the case. Alex Sheridan in the number 60. That car is shared for Kinetic Racing. 7th place for them. Penguin RC Complex 8th. Drive SVR. Marwan Mafta brings it home in 9th, but Rui Pinto didn't quite get the top 5 that car probably deserved. Bombshell Racing Team Odin, another day of internet problems for Colin Daner. Another day outside of the top 5, outside of the podium for them.
Yeah, very disappointing for the 25 and the 80 AM, really for reasons that were out of their control, right? You can't really control the internet, or you can't really control your other person to show up. So again, not sure what happened between those 2 cars, especially with Rui Pinto's teammate. But again, it's unfortunate what could have been, because both those cars ran really well inside the top 5 at one point. So unfortunately, it wasn't made to be, and they're going to finish at the bottom of the order.
Let's bring in our race winner, one of them at least. That is the driver of the winning car, the Penguin RC LLM Lone Star car. That's Blake Reynolds. Blake, a dominant performance today. Didn't start up front. It started in the front row, but you got by Riley Thompson there early in the going in a pretty frantic battle for the lead and never looked back. Take us through your perspective in the 0-1 car today.
It was a lot of fun. It was right there at the start. I knew since I was starting, and we kind of figured that Matt was a little slower. I figured I'd get in the car to start and put on the biggest gap if I could, or get as far forward as we could. And luckily, there was some awesome battling, and we were able to just get the lead and not look back. I was able to pull quite the gap up to the pit stop.
Well, it certainly looked like that car was on rails today, and I talked to Matt as well, because Matt, you jumped in the car well after the halfway point and took it home and continued to expand the lead. What were the conditions like out there? The track was relatively cool, but it just looked like that thing was hooked up and it was just going.
Yeah, the car was really good. I didn't really push hard at all. There was no need to. We had a huge gap, so I just really got to settle in there and run some solid laps. Blake did a great job pulling away, so it's a pretty easy affair.
Yeah, it certainly looked that way, guys. Congratulations. That was a really solid event for you guys. Just drive it away and making it look easy today. Didn't probably have as much battling as I'm sure you would have liked. There was some great stuff there, 2nd through 4th, that some of you guys missed out on. But a great win regardless, and strong performance. And we'll see you at the Red Bull Ring in a few weeks.
Yep, thank you. And shout out to Penguin RC, Brian Solon, and what he does for us. Good partner, and we'll see some more stuff coming from them in a couple weeks or a couple months here.
Cool stuff, Blake. Thanks for chatting with us. We'll see you at the next one.
Thank you.
All right, we've also got our 3rd place finishers. That is Ty McIntosh and Ray Kingsbury. Both drivers brought the Shift Esports car to 3rd place in the lineup. And Ty, let's start with you. You finished off the car today, trying to run down Ryan Carwile, the Bombshell Racing Team Thor car. Couldn't quite get there, but you did have Dominic Eisenberg in the Suss and Martin car running you down there at the end. Was that intense towards the end, or did you feel like you had it under control the whole time?
If I'm gonna be honest with you, I really didn't feel like I was too comfortable there. I kept asking Ray every little bit how far he was catching, because I knew that I was gonna struggle with the race pace. I didn't do too well in practice, but it was really just let Ray get us as far as he can get us, and then me manage and try to finish it. Which he definitely put the pressure on me there in the end. I was a little worried, but I'm glad we brought it home P3.
And Ray, we chatted with you just prior to the end of the race, but a podium finish for you in the Shift Esports team. We talked about the first stint of the race being really frantic out there. We chatted briefly about the track conditions with the winning team. Just seemed like the track was pretty hooked up today, and it looked like a lot of fun to rip around. Yeah,
it really was. I feel a little bad for Riley though. He kind of had it up against him there with the 3 Astons. We were all working together and all on the same setup package and everything. So I was the guest driver on the Shift car today, so I'm glad they let me drive. I didn't have a teammate on my car, so I figured I would jump in here, and I had fun. So it's a good day in my book.
Solid day for both you guys. Congratulations, Shift Esports P3. We'll see you at the next one. All right, Infinity, that's going to wrap things up for this one. Carwile and Riley Thompson second place, the Bombshell Racing Team Thor team car, but a decent race. I'd say the very beginning really made that a spectacular one to watch. Towards the end there, things got sorted out, kind of how we expected it to be, Finian, but strong all around before our next event at the Red Bull Ring.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, these guys don't disappoint. Some great action between the Mercedes and the Aston Martin in the top part of the field, especially that first hour. Some great action, some great... I mean, we saw these guys go 3 wide. I didn't even think we could fit 3 cars side by side around here, but these guys yet again proved me wrong, and they managed to make it work. They didn't take each other out, and that's another thing too. This has been a fairly clean race. I don't even think we saw any car-to-car crash. Saw some car-to-car contact, but really was just rubbing paint here and there.
Yeah, everybody kept it the same direction at the very least. That'll do it for this round of the MTEC Sprint Series. Next round will be the Red Bull Ring in a couple weeks, followed by Road America and then the Nürburgring to wrap up the season. Thanks for joining us today on the Saturday afternoon. I'm Kyle Heyer, joined by Finian D'Cunha. We'll see you next time on Sim TV.